welcome live from the Heatwave, which will probably be known. This is the what date is this? 19th of July, 2021, which will probably be known in the United Kingdom as the week of incubation, as the masses still not fully rid of the great the great religious swarm that has accosted us from on high this last year and a half. The unwashed masses are now let loose with the reopening of all public venues in the UK as of
it's
today.
Feeding time at the zoo, Lee. That's what it is.
In the middle of what has been the warmest set of days, in Northern Ireland on record. So,
the scorched earth that we live on at the moment.
Exactly. So, a little bit. Well, it's a bit of an incubation chamber.
I was doing extras work for a film on Saturday, and they had me dressed up in 4 layers, including like some kind of pseudo gambeson, which is like padded clothing.
Oh my god!
in the hottest day of the year so far. And they told us that in the weeks prior, no less than 3 extras had collapsed due to the heat exhaustion. So drink plenty of water.
Holy
shit! I was
shit!
Like, cool. And I'll be back on Wednesday.
Well, it may have died down by then, much like several of the people trapped in this nightmare. All right, follow up. Any follow up, Lawrence?
Let me check. I don't think so. Oh, yes. 1 piece of follow-up, actually. It's more, 2 pieces of follow-up. First of all, I don't think I ever explicitly pointed it out, but we know that Evo is back. We spoke about that.
Yes.
It has been confirmed that Skullgirls will indeed be main event at Evo. So
there you go.
Hooray! The little man wins again this time.
Not all is lost.
Yeah,
that's great.
Now that Evo was bought by Sony, I think it was. Was it Sony? Sony bought Evo?
Look, I don't remember the news we say. I merely say it.
Well, now that they've been bought out and presumably sanitized, we can now go back to liking it. It's cool now.
All right, yeah, cool. Fair enough. Still no them's fighting herds, but...
Yeah, I know, that is a loss, but well, you take what you can get.
And you had a second one? Or is that
yes.
2?
No, I mentioned last week about Apex Legends being hacked.
Yes.
And them linking to a website that they made about save Titanfall, because Titanfall is currently being savagely raped by hackers as we speak. And Titanfall 2 is as well, apparently to a lesser extent. Apparently the website that they linked to was very clear that they are not in any way affiliated with the person doing the hack on Apex Legends, so just making sure I'm not misleading anybody.
In terms of follow-up on that, I was going to put this in news, but I might as well while we're talking about it. Did you see, I can't remember what his role is, but a guy called Ryan Brigney, I believe, I don't know, some sort of lead producer or director of Respawn, somebody high up, said that the hack on Apex, apparently they were already working on the DDoS strikes, or fucking hacks.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. It is a DDoS attack being perpetuated against the Titanfall servers.
So they were working on that, and he just noted, I think in a Twitter thread, he said that all these hacks did was raise awareness that they were already working on the fix, but now would have to work overtime. So, great.
I'm skeptical of that claim. I mean, I'm not skeptical about the part where he says he has to work overtime. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No, of course not.
I mean the part where they were already...
he said that they were aware of it and they were working on it, but the problem is they're hard to solve. So while the community are understandably frustrated that the game is completely ruined, apparently it's just a perpetual thing.
It's more along the lines of, we were already working on it. We had 2 guys in an office somewhere doing their damnedest.
Well, yeah, of course.
Now we've got 4 people in an office somewhere doing their damnedest.
Working overtime, crunching to get this news story to disappear. So that's something. on follow-up on my end, I mentioned that I would come back to the Timesplitters progress, as mentioned in the previous episode. Where is that? I talked a lot about Free Radical Design and their downfall post-Haze, Halo Killer Haze. So I kind of got two bits of information confused about this. There's two separate projects, and the one I was thinking of that's more ongoing is one called Timesplitters Rewind, which is a fan project. That has, well, I thought was kind of caught up in some sort of news frenzy or storm or something, but I must be misremembering. It just seems that people are talking about it really because it's taking an awful long time. It was announced that they were working on it in 2013, and as far as everybody knows, they're still working on it.
That is the way of things like this, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. The problem with them, their job, they wanted to remake Timesplitters 1 and 2, I think, in one package. And the problem was, I think they did get sort of tacit permission from the rights owners at the time, which are Deep Silver, but they were told they couldn't use any of the assets from the original game, so they've had to make everything from scratch. So that would, obviously, if you're a small community working on a fan game, that's going to take up a lot of professional time, and that's why it's kind of been in the wings for 7 or so years. But no, another bit of information which I either half knew or half realized and then had completely forgotten was that Free Radical Design have kind of been reformed as of May this year. They currently working, the two designers who created Timesplitters, Steve Ellis and David Doak, were founders of Free Radical Design, are back, and they're teamed up together under the banner Free Radical Design, working under Deep Silver, the rights owners to Timesplitters, and apparently have been okay to work on a new Timesplitters entry. So,
well, if that's true, then those people making that fan project better watch the fuck out.
I know, yeah, this is a bad place to be in, to have a previously announced fan project slowly taking its time, while a real project will get smushed down by PR squads, knock and talk teams for the next while.
See, this is what you got to do in situations like that. You know, you've probably seen all the PSAs. Whenever you're working on a fan project and it's coming along well and it looks really good, what you're supposed to do is shut the fuck up.
Yeah, of course.
Shut the fuck up. Don't say a damn thing until it's done. Because once it's out, they can't do shit about it. You know, oh, you send me a cease and desist. I guess I'll take it down in a couple of days' time at midnight, everybody.
I guess the thing was, back in the time it was announced, Timesplitters looked like a no hope IP. It looked like it was dead and it would never come back. And unfortunately for them, they bet on the wrong horse, and Timesplitters is slowly but surely returning. So yikes. on the upside for them potentially is that words pre the reformation of the team were floated around that they wanted Timesplitters to be a competitor to the likes of Fortnite, so there might be hope that it won't be good and the fan project will be more true to the original spirit of the games than whatever comes after.
Well, that's only more reason for it to get cease and desisted.
Well, yeah, that's also true. That's my follow-up. Only thing to add left in this section is that I have a new website that Vectormen podcast will be available to listen to from, and people should check it out.
Oh, yeah, I did check that out. Yeah, I appreciate the philosophy of don't let the perfect get in the way of the good that you've taken with this.
Totally. Exactly. The website's called lesserland.com, and it is essentially it's just a blog. It's just a blog, but it's where there's so many fucking dumb crap, weird things I want to work on and put my interest into, and I've kind of put them all aside to focus on general career stuff like screenwriting and so on, things that you don't put out there because you kind of have to protect it to some extent. And that was kind of getting in the way of me also doing fun stuff that I enjoy, like making dumb drawings and comics and blog posts and so on. And now I sort of realized I kind of needed a place for all that to convince myself, especially now that I have a general job and work that I'm consistently doing, and time.
You need a creative outlet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just need to blow off steam making junk, and I needed a place to put that somewhere where it was allowed to fail. And it's been something, my latest in a long line of me making websites for junk, and it's been really fun so far. I have made 2 dumb drawings at this point. We're only like 5 days into the website existing, and 1 long blog post. But I don't know, it's been fun messing around and sort of knowing that, sort of centralizing myself on something there. And it's also good that Vectormen has somewhere official to be, I guess. I mean, until we get a superfluous Vectorman.com website or something like that, which probably... Till we do something like that, this is the place where things will be posted, you know. Although, yeah, the Vectorman website probably makes sense too, now that I think about it. Now that these things can be done, should they be done? Probably.
Maybe once we hit... What episode are we on? 40-something?
42.
Let's see, I don't know. We get the 80. There you go. Nice.
Okay. I thought...
That's a nice arbitrary milestone. Maybe 100, I don't know.
Yeah. I think also, around episode 50, this is the plan I had in my head. I thought of this last week. I'm kind of sick and tired of the the green and blue color scheme for the episode covers. So come episode 50, we're going to slowly just mix and match the colors on that, so that I have something less boring to look at when I make those. They'll be themed around the game in the picture. There we go. So there you go. Look forward to that, people who are remotely interested.
Sounds like
that.
Sounds like Lee creating a lot of work for himself.
I can't help it, man. I just can't help it.
It's an addiction.
It's a need. Alright, and that is follow-up. Check out lesserland.com. Yeah. And now, Lawrence, how was your week?
My week was good. It was, first of all, I should say, I finished Hades, completed. I should say I got the post-epilogue ending, if that's the word.
Well, I haven't got that, so that's amazing.
Where it's like, there's the ending where you speak to that person and they do the thing. And then there's the ending where that person then speaks to other people and then collectively a thing happens.
Oh.
Riveting content here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even that ending, it seems a bit limp. I will say that, good game, but both the endings seem a little bit, oh wait, that's it?
Yeah. It was about the journey, man.
But the journey was arduous. I was there for the story, and it was broken up by all this hacking and slashing.
Well, congratulations on that. What else were you up to?
It makes me wish I had nicer things to say about it, because I did quite enjoy it. It makes me feel a little bit guilty. Speaking of guilty... Lee, let's blow ourselves out here. We were both raised Catholic, weren't we, Lee?
Yes, alright.
We're thoroughly irreligious these days, but we were both raised pretty Catholic. Did you at every point feel Catholic guilt? Because I never did, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I think what I thought was Catholic guilt might have just been general emotional guilt and blackmail on behalf of those raising me to teach me to empathize with others. But I guess if there was a point where I still believed in something, then yes, I felt panic that doing stupid things would earn me naughty points. Does that count?
That's the fear. That's the fear.
Yeah.
That's not the same as the Catholic guilt.
Yeah, then probably not. Maybe when I was 15 and masturbation kicked off. That was like the last of it, the last wave.
It was at that point in your life that you were forced to make a decision, and you never looked back since then.
Yeah. It was a pure crossroads. I can't keep doing this and still be religious. So I made my choice. I haven't looked back.
See you at church this Sunday, Lee.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you listener have never experienced Catholic guilt, or for some reason you want to, well, boy howdy do I have the game for you. I've been playing a game called Blasphemous this last week. Now, for those who don't know, Blasphemous is it's a Metroidvania with some Souls-like mechanics. It's not really a Souls game, but it is a Metroidvania. It's a surprisingly short Metroidvania. That's partially why I picked it. Now, full disclosure, I have not entirely completed it yet, but I'm like 1 or 2 PlayStations away. I would say you could knock that game out in about 40 hours, maybe.
That's not short. 40 hours?
40 hours or less, probably less than that. What, for a Metroidvania? Like, Hollow Knight could... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go on Steam here and take a look.
I will be talking about a Metroidvania in my segment as well, and it's a big one, and it did not take 40 hours or anywhere fucking near. I'm amazed by that. Yes, Hollow Knight, I believe, is chunky.
Hollow Knight is, like, shockingly chunky. Like, man, I feel bad about the amount of money I gave those people to get that game, because that is value. Too much value, trust me. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at Blasphemous. I'm looking at the Steam list. The game tells me I'm about 83% done. Let's see. Oh, I've only played for 18.2 hours, so yes, you could actually beat it. You could actually get 100%. I'm going to speculate at about 25 hours, which is pretty compact.
How long to beat is bringing it down to 26 hours for completionist run, 18 for main and extra. So there you go.
Yeah. So I think that would be a good Metroid game, assuming you're not sick of it, sick of the genre. That's a good one that you could play because, let's be real here, Lee. You do have a habit of self-sabotaging when it comes to Metroidvanias.
And that I keep coming back.
No, not that you keep coming back. More than that, you just, I don't know, you get to a point where you're meant to go isn't explicitly laid out for you, and you go, I guess I've just extracted all of the fun that I could get from this game, and then you just stop. But this game is paced in such a way where you can have it done in 25 hours, so you won't even have time to second guess yourself and to mentally percolate an excuse to stop playing, because you'll have finished by that time.
Yes, it sounds very much like that. This, as far as I was aware, this got swept up in the post-Dark Souls-like conversation. Everybody who talked about it said, it's a Dark Souls-like.
It really isn't.
And they threw it in there with the games like what is it called? Dead Souls? Is that what?
Dead Cells?
Dead Cells, that's right. And Salt and Sanctuary, which I believe
Salt
are
Sanctuary is
far more Dark Souls-y.
Very much a Dark Souls game, though. Blasphemous, it shares 2 things in similarity with Dark Souls, 2 noteworthy things, in that if you die, you can go back and reclaim something from where you died. It's not your currency, though. You don't level up in this game. There's no RPG mechanics besides, I guess, buying moves. That's about it. You buy moves with money. But you don't lose your money at any point. It's impossible to lose it. All you lose is a bit of your maximum mana goes away when you die. And if you reclaim it, you get that back. Yeah, I know. It's like it's nothing. It's a doddle. It's just something that goes, and I'll keep that in mind. That's it. I bring up Catholic guilt because probably the biggest draw for this game in the eyes of everyone anyone who saw this game immediately goes, ooh,
yeah,
oh, interesting, because the aesthetic is excellent. So it's like it's all the horrors of Roman Catholicism amped up to like 10, but not just any Catholicism. It's the Spanish variant, like a very inquisitorial, what is it called? The Black Legend of Spain, that sort of thing, with those conical hats that certain sects of Roman Catholicism in Spain wear. Lots of penitence, lots of self-flagellation, all the sorts of things that Dan Brown would have you believe the Roman Church actually still does to this day.
Of course. Or at least its major villains.
What was it called? Silas? Is that
Silas,
the albino monk?
Yeah, from the Vinci Code.
Sorry, what's the name of the sect that he's a part of? I can't remember. Opus Dei, I think that's it. It's Opus Dei, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's some
incredible recall.
from a book that I read once over 10 years ago and
easily.
didn't care very much about.
Incredible.
No, to give you an idea of the whole story is shrouded in mystery, and it's benched in all this like arcane vernacular where everyone speaks in like religious tones and like pseudo Latin. And whenever you die, instead of saying you die, it says requiem exterminados or something like that. Lots of faux Latin. It does that thing where you replace the U's with V's. So the name of the land that the game takes place in is Custodia, but it's spelled Custodia. And you go, ooh, nice flavor. I like it. Very cool. So you're in a pseudo Spain. We're in a country called Custodia that's been shrouded in this kind of eternal twilight. It was a brutal theocracy prior to the events of the game happening. Inquisitors running around. Paintings that are more beautiful than life aren't allowed. Music is frowned upon because it brings too much joy. Life is not to be enjoyed; it is to be endured.
Of course.
Everyone is always like whipping themselves or like hurting themselves or weighing themselves down with stones and going on pilgrimages in order to harm themselves in order to repent for their sins.
What a great thing to draw from, in terms of a setting. What a brutal, violent thing to try and capture.
And it does it very, very well, especially because the land that has been beset by this, I don't want to know, curse isn't the right word, but a mystical force has descended upon this land. A mystical force that is known as the Grievous Miracle.
Okay, cool.
Where people's sins are being manifested in cruel and often grotesque ways. Like, for instance, people are being twisted into monsters that are vaguely symbolic of the sins that they're trying to repent for. And it isn't immediately clear whether or not this is a manifestation of the local religion, if it's a entirely unrelated supernatural force that is simply manifesting in such a way that their religion is latching onto. Maybe it is the collective wills of the people of this country made flesh. It just so happens that the thing that they want is to punish themselves for all of their sins.
How aside from, I guess, the aesthetic and the world itself, how is the lore of this kind of exposed throughout the game? Do you pick up stuff that sort of tells you, or is there any talking characters at all, or written things?
There are talking characters, and there are written things, and they're all written extremely well. You meet characters like Deo Gracias or Clisanta, who will tell you things. Deo Gracias is the scribe, where after every boss battle or milestone, he'll be out there to give you a bunch of strange and cryptic... I will say this is one thing it shares with Dark Souls, and that everyone speaks in an incredibly cryptic tongue that assumes you know what they're talking about. And the morality of what's happening is very unclear. Like, I'm pretty sure that the player character, somebody called the Penitent One, they say the Penitent One because he's the PC, but it's very clear that he's merely a Penitent One. He's one of many. He's just a particularly noteworthy one because he's got a sword and he slashes things. The sword is called the Mea Culpa. There's lots of gratuitous Spanish and Latin thrown in there. Mea Culpa, that means I am culpable or something like that. I can't remember.
A Mea Culpa is like a grace, like a giving grace sort of action. Like when you give somebody a mea culpa, you're sort of pardoning them.
Yeah, something like that. But by killing someone, I guess you're absolving them of their suffering or something. But something like that. Nobody is really dying properly, so everyone's just sort of doomed to forever torture themselves and flagellate themselves to atone for their sins. The only way that people die is if all their remains are brought and buried in a single place, and then they pass on to the afterlife, but barely anyone's doing that. You've got characters, they give you an idea of how the Grievous Miracle is changing this society. There's a character called Sorata or Soraka, I can't remember. The society refers to her as Our Lady of the Constant Agony, or something like that. And she was like, I feel really bad for all of these people being round up and brought to execution to be tortured by the Inquisitors. I pray to the grievous miracle that I will take their suffering onto myself.
Wow.
And so the way that manifested is that they never feel any suffering or die or anything like that. But every time they get lashed, she's just like miserably like bled into and cut, and you meet her, and like she can't even speak because she's just like invisible lashes being lashed out of her and blood. She's just going
God.
all the time, and you're like, man, this is pretty metal. I like this.
Yeah,
This is
wow.
cool.
Jesus.
And let's see, you meet a character called Our Lady of the Charred Visage, who is a lady that had like sacred oil thrown on her face, and it never stopped burning, and she's just constantly got burning oil in her face forever and forever and forever. And so they put her in charge of a convent, the Abbey of Our Blessed Lady of the Charred Visage. And everyone who wants to join, every nun that wants to join that convent has to disfigure their face in order to get in. So pretty metal stuff.
Cool. Man, I'm seeing where some lesser parsed critics would assume this was Dark Souls, despite it not playing like Dark Souls. You know,
no,
it's just
it doesn't
brutal looking like Dark Souls, is what I gather.
It doesn't even play very much like your typical Metroidvania. I mean, it's very Castlevania. It's more Castlevania than it is Metroid, but there's no air dash, for instance, and there's no double jump.
Right.
You never gain any of those things. You just get strange things like, you can... there's no wall jumping either. It's more like you attack the wall and then you get stuck in it, and then you can use that to sort of clamber up, but there's no advanced movement options. Like you would say in Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight has a whole bunch of them. Hollow Knight has the whole shebang.
Yeah, the forum.
Mm-hmm. The most mobile thing you get in this game is, you never played Symphony of the Night, did you? You've seen speedruns of it, though, I'm sure.
Yes, I have.
You've seen Alucard's like backdash where it goes whoosh whoosh whoosh, and you use that to get around faster. That's the fastest thing that you get in this game.
Yeah.
It does do one thing that I was very unhappy about. It does two things that I'm quite unhappy about, which is spikes, much like in Castlevania, kill you instantly, and bring you back to the nearest checkpoint, which is a massive hassle. Because some of the platforming segments in this game are quite difficult. Mm-hmm. Like, and you'll have things like where you're dashing through rooms to get back to a place where you were earlier, and you'll dash into the next screen, and oops, there were spikes there. Now you're dead.
Oh right.
Oh
okay.
Yeah, great, fantastic, great stuff. Love it when that happens.
Basically, my problem with every Mega Man game.
Well, it's funny that you should bring up Mega Man because it does do one thing from Mega Man which I do not like at all, which is that in Mega Man how you'll go up to an area above you by climbing a ladder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the way to get down to the area previous is to go down that ladder. But if you say, for instance, fall down into an area that should be safe from above to below, that can kill you.
Yes. Okay. So like, there's a hole in the ground in the upper layer. And there should be platforms down
into an area below that should be safe. It'll go, no, that's a fall.
A kill area. Wow,
that's
right.
A kill box. Except when you get 2/3 of the way through the game and you get a progress movement thing that goes, nah, you can drop down now. I'm like, you should not be getting that off. That is not something you should get off. Yeah.
That's so weird.
It is weird. It's definitely
that shouldn't feel like a reward. That's like a gameplay thing, like a requirement.
Yeah, it's got weird indie jank decisions like that, and you can tell like it's really, really well made for an indie game, but you can tell it's an indie game, both because of things like that, and the fact that I have suffered a few bugs in this game. Not a lot, nothing game breaking. Apparently, there used to be one that corrupted your save file. That hasn't happened to me yet, which is a relief. But I think they might have fixed that one. But you'll get things like, I once accidentally clipped through a wall and fell through the ground. And I was like, am I stuck? I think I might be stuck. Or I got crushed between two moving objects, but it didn't kill me, so I was just stuck there, unable to move or jump or get out of the way. And there's no way to kill yourself. I guess I would have to, if I left the game without saving and came back, that might save me. But fortunately, I was in like a time trial area, so I just ran out of time. But and died, which is a relief. But boy, I was really worried for a minute there.
Wow.
I should point out that I've talked about how like the chosen aesthetic for this game is excellent, but I haven't discussed like the quality of the pixel art, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really good. They've got full cutscenes that are just incredibly fluid pixel art, and they look fantastic. I mean, I chose as my visage, my facade for this week on Twitch, for all the Twitch listeners, and none of the after the fact listeners who will have no idea what I'm talking about here. I chose the penitent one's face from an early cutscene, and you can just look at it and go, man, that looks really nice. Now imagine it in fluid motion.
Yeah, wow.
That's from like the opening cutscene of the game, where after you defeat the first boss, he like takes off his conical helmet, fills it up from the blood of the boss that he just defeated, and then just dunks it all on his head. And now he's just, I guess, permanently like frothing and bubbling with blood under the helmet during the entire game. It's metal.
What? Yeah, the one thing I really knew about this game was that it looked gorgeous in terms of pixel art. That's pretty much it. I didn't really know what type of game it was, and apparently people have been saying it's a Dark Souls like when it's not, so this has kind of raised my interest in it a lot more, because like I don't really care about Sultan Sanctuary all that much as a concept. I think Dark Souls sounded better as a 3D game, because you get to kind of look where you're going to be in the future, which you lose in 2D. But that's not a problem if it's something like a Metroidvania, because getting lost in 2D is kind of the form.
Yeah, it's very easy to get lost in the game. It does another weird indie thing that it does. Like if you hit, it took me ages to figure out how to navigate the menu.
Right.
Where I was just like, okay, the game started. How do I pause? Hit escape? Nothing. Right. Okay. So I'm just gonna start hitting keys at random.
I for inventory.
I opens inventory. Eyes open inventory. Okay, that's a relief. But how do I get? I can't get access the options from inventory. Inventory is just like your inventory and like some artifacts that you've picked up along the way and equipping magic spells and things like that.
Sure.
How do I get to the options menu? So I just kept hitting buttons and I go M for map, opens up the map.
Yeah.
And then from there you have to hit O, which brings up options. And I'm like, this is weird.
O for options, wow.
Only O for options from M for map.
Oh, what?
You need to open the map first and then hit O, which brings up the options.
I was going to say O for options is very old school, but going through the map screen to get to it, that's not old school, that's just fucking weird.
Yeah, I know. If I hit escape, it should open the pause menu. That's the de facto standard.
How about that map, by the way? What's it like? Are we talking like Metroid? It's blocks?
Castlevania.
Yeah.
It's little boxes. It's the boxes.
I love the little box map.
I also like the little boxes. It's like, so click up, which just goes, where do I go? And you scan over the menus. Oh, that little box has an open end over there.
Yeah.
I haven't been over there yet. So I'm gonna go over there.
It's already a mastered form. It's a perfect form of rendering visual what you cannot see. I don't see any reason to elaborate or change such a thing when it was perfected right out the gate.
And much like Hollow Knight, there's a pin system.
Yeah.
Where there's no legend for the map, which is another thing that pisses me off. Where it's like, oh, this symbol here. I'll go to, like, say for instance, you can pick up flasks, which is just additional heals. Like, here's an empty bio flask, and you can go to a very specific kind of like blood fountain, and it'll refill it. So now you've got an additional like heal, and it'll mark that automatically on your map. But there's no key telling you what the symbols mean. So I could be on the other side, and I go, right, what does the red circle mean again? Can't remember. I need to find a mea culpa altar so I can upgrade my sword. Which one is that again? Still no way to tell. Oh, and the shop. There's like 2 or 3 shops that appear in game, where like a gypsy lady, like a crone, will try to sell you things. By the way, I'm referring to fictional gypsy, so it's okay for me to use the word. Don't worry about it.
Hairs on
And
back of neck standing up like
and that just simply isn't marked on the map. Like the shop isn't marked on the map, so you need to mark it manually. Like this is more difficult than it needs to be. Just weird complications that don't need to be there. Which is weird because like the game is incredibly polished in other ways. Like every enemy has like there's a chance if you kill them certain ways that they'll get like an execution, where you can kill them in an incredibly satisfying and graphic way with like a prolonged finisher animation. And you're like, man, these guys knew where to put the money, where it needed to be.
People are going to talk about the bloody executions. They're not going to talk about the weird option menu problem.
Although it does have pins, so you can go, I will select a blue pin, and I will put it in this spot on the grid, and I guess I will just have to remember what I meant by
blue pin means. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one step detached from writing out your own map or notes as you play or something like that, so that's something. Would be good just to have a breakdown, a little legend.
The music is quite good, but it's music in a very understated way. I mean, I guess in boss battles it does get a bit bombastic, but there's no, like, Father Gascoigne, like, brass blaring at any point, if you see what I mean. It's all sort of, most of it's like Spanish guitar, like low-key, like, grim Spanish guitar, or like, dee-dee-dee-dee.
The whole thing being pixelized, is it got like a MIDI vibe to it, or is it actual instruments?
Not especially. I mean, I'm sure there's a sound font being used, but it's not especially retro-sounding or like, SNES influenced. It's like, I guess it would be akin to PS1 sort of Symphony of the Night style.
Sure.
Kind of. Like, there's no incredibly realistic orchestra. It's all kind of just relaxed, like, Spanish guitar and, like, Spanish instrumentation. Like, if you've ever listened to, was it Joaquin Rodrigo? The classic Spanish composer. It would be something a bit like that. Let's see.
Can't tell you.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the track he did? I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up later. Anyway, yes, the music's very good. It's understated good, but it always feels cool, and it feels like it really takes advantage of the setting, so it feels very Spanish. And everyone's walking around with weird conical hats, and they're all wearing like purple robes, and you're like, ooh, this is very good. And you're collecting bones. Like, there's lots of relics. Relics here meaning like the remains of saints, with like item descriptions on them. And there's an entire genre of collectibles that are just bones, each with a bit of backstory about various citizens who died.
Cool.
And they're all named after Patreon backers, or like names submitted by Patreon backers. So it's like, some of them don't fit as well. Like, you'll get one called John, and you're like, you could have done better than that, dude. Or you'll get another one like, like some weird, almost Kingdom Heartsy like name with like an X in it, and you're like, I guess it kind of fits. But they're mostly well written. Like the Troubadour, who would he was like a minstrel who would play music in Custodia, but the Inquisitors didn't like it, so he did like a blistering satire of them, and they executed them. A lot of them, they all die at the end. That's how you get their bones.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too similar to the Pillars of Eternity ghost thing?
It is no. The Pillars of Eternity ghost thing is like, it's in excess. It's too much. There's really no need for that much. Like for this, it's like, there's like a paragraph of maybe like 3 or 4 lines for each one.
It's more like the Hollow Knight graveyard thing.
Yes, it's something like that.
I like that. That was the right amount of backer reward.
Let's see. I mentioned earlier that the morality is quite interesting because like the one way that you could ruin the narrative of this game is to treat it as a sort of, this religion is causing people to suffer and it's really bad, and I'm going to go kill the Pope of this religion to defeat it, because that is the final boss of this game that I know of. It's His Holiness Escramor or Escramire or something like that, and he is the final boss. He's been trapped in, I don't want to say trapped, but the Grievous Miracle has like entombed him in some kind of weird chrysalis, and he's going to come out as some kind of terrible monster. Or maybe he'll look the same. Maybe he'll just look weird when he comes out when I go to fight him. But him and all the higher ups of the religion have been sort of coalesced into this single being. And it's going to be like, I'm going to go fight the higher ups of this religion, and I'm going to free this land from the grievous miracle.
Yeah, that's how it works.
But it doesn't really seem like that is the case. Like, the penitent one that you play as is very much a proponent of the religion in question.
Yeah.
Like, he's dressed in what I assume is the garb of a sect of this religion. He has sworn his chosen penitence is a vow of silence. So he never speaks.
How convenient for video games.
So, for instance, you'll find people who like tie themselves down with rocks as they go on their pilgrimages, or people who like flagellate themselves, or people who like one of the first factions you meet is the wound kissers, who look after people because the grievous miracle has, for reasons that they don't understand, given them the ability to heal people by kissing their wounds, and you're like, ugh. But you can help them out by giving things. But like, it's all about penitence and penance and punishment for your sins, but whether they be real or imagined, very original sin, that sort of thing. It very much feels like any kind of pleasure or simply existing without suffering is a form of sin. So everyone's just hurting themselves. So when the penitent one gets to the end of this game and he beats his holiness, like I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. Like, is the grievous miracle just going to stop? Because I don't think that's going. There's no reason to believe why that'll happen, and I imagine, are the people of this land going to want that to happen? Like, is that a desirable outcome?
Yeah,
like everyone. I don't want to say that they're happy about what's happening, but
it is what they signed up for.
it is what they signed up for. So I've really no idea like how this is going to resolve. I know that there's two endings, and I'm going for the good ending. There's a bit of Symphony of the Night bullshit where you have to go to the side of the map and like swing a cat across your head 3 times and then go to the other side of the map. To get the good ending. But it's not terribly difficult. Just to have a guide handy. Here we go. Wait, before I go into this final boss battle, is there anything?
Have I swung the cat?
Just double check. That's all. But yeah, that's most of my thoughts on Blasphemous. It's very, very cool. I like it's one of those benefits of having indie games coming from countries that aren't just the UK and America and Canada and whatsoever. You got to get some nice culture in there. I feel culturally enriched as a result of playing this game.
Some beautiful video game tourism. You've been to.
You've been to blackest Spain.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I didn't know it was a Metroidvania, and I already like the aesthetic, but I didn't know if it veered too close to Dark Souls. Now knowing it doesn't, and it has a cool theme, it is on the Switch, and that to me would be a cool place to play that.
And by the way, there's been a whole bunch of DLC released for it, which is free, including the Bloodstained crossover.
Ooh, interesting.
And you would think, oh, this is going to be very immersion breaking when you get to the Bloodstained bit, but it's just a corner of the map where Miriam is there, and she's rendered in the aesthetic of the game, so like the pixel art is there, and she looks cool, and she's like, oh, I've been brought here by mystical forces, do all these challenges in order to open the portal to let me go back or something like that. I'm curious to see what the Blasphemous content in Bloodstained is. Like, is there some? I was wondering about that, because if it's just like Miriam shows up in this game, I guess that's cool. But I'm curious to see, like, does the penitent one show up in Bloodstained? Because if that is the case, that would be fucking awesome, because this guy's cool.
I mean, it wouldn't be too out of place in a Castlevania-esque aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like, it's very Castlevania. There's lots of castles and
Vanias.
cathedrals and like sewers and interesting monster designs, but it has enough of its own flavor for it to be unique and really distinct. It's Blasphemous is really cool. It's really, really cool. That's all I can really say. Just watch footage of some of the cutscenes for this game and listen to the voice acting and look at some of the boss battles, and you'll know everything that you need to know. And you'll be sold, or you won't be sold. That's all I can really say. Just look at this game and be amazed. That's all I can say.
Cool. Look at this game and be amazed.
Bask in its radiance. Bask in it.
Is that your week?
That is my week.
Cool. Alright. Transition. And we're on to my week now. Okay. Yep. Sorry. Just had to get something up here.
That's alright.
Okay. My week is hilariously. I've got two things to talk about. The first of which I bumped up the list immediately after hearing several mentions of it and having to bite my tongue and nod and sort of gulp to the camera as you were talking. Because the first game I completed this week was Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, how about that, huh? Oh, you played that awfully coy.
I know. Trying to keep quiet, trying to keep things quiet, trying to keep things hidden these days, so that you have no idea. Although you were here, and I started to worry. You were here at my house, and I think we had the PlayStation on for a little bit at some point, and I just quietly, like, it was seeing the picture of Castlevania, like the Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and Rondo of Blood jewel package on the main screen. And I was like, oh god, gotta get off that. Like, I immediately was like, gotta get off the screen. You can't know. I'm so close.
You know, it's weird because I'm quite confident that I did see that, but I didn't think anything of it because, and I don't know why this is, if I see something on your PlayStation home screen, I don't take that as any indication at all that you are or going to or have played it. You just have downloaded a whole bunch of shit, and maybe you'll play it, maybe you won't.
That is also possibly true. A lot of the time, there's a lot of games that I will touch upon for a hour or so, realize it's not for me, and then never bring it up. Some of those games I will be talking about in this conversation, though. So I guess that runs contrary to the whole point I was just making.
I suppose before you start, I'm just going to ask you my leading question, which is, well, first I'm going to preface it by saying,
so many questions.
Did you beat the game?
I did, and I beat it all three ways that I know how.
Okay, so I guess my leading question is, so the Metroidvania LOL, did it kick in? Did it take hold in you?
Not even once.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh man, I fucking loved this game, and it never at all gripped me to hesitate or get drowned out in the lull. It's a good thing you brought that up. I didn't. Yeah, I took really light notes on this one because it's a game a lot of people know to death, and I didn't want to yammer on about it too long. But yeah, I forgot to mention Metroidvania LOL at all, because it was so out of my mind. I forgot all about it for the first time since playing a Metroidvania game on this show.
I guess my follow-up question would be, did you change the way that you approached this game, or change the way that you in the way that you played it, as opposed to, say, for instance, Hollow Knight? Like
Hollow Knight.
With Hollow Knight, you said, I would never look at a guide. You know, I would try the brute force my way through it, or something like that. Did that change with this game? Did it at any point where you were like, I don't know where I am? Were you at a loss? Were you out to sea? And you decided to consult a guide?
Okay.
Something that you previously would have been reluctant to do?
I'll explain why my attitude changed about that first, before saying how I didn't really. But I'll preempt by saying my attitude to the whole no guide thing absolutely changed with Dark Souls.
Okay.
Dark Souls, like I think I said when I talked about that on the show, it's a game that very much thrives from having been played in the moment with a community at your side, and that almost acts as a guide in itself. So I kind of took permission with that coming so late after the fact to steer myself time and time again with the guide when I got turned around for that game, and I felt like it really altered my opinion. It really helped improve my experience with Dark Souls. I feel like the idea of video game and Metroidvania purism was something I got into my head somewhere last year or the year before, and decided I would, punish Hollow Knight for having done by taking the wrong tact. And
it was the sacrificial lamb on the altar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it took Dark Souls, a game that is already beating the fuck out of you every time you play it, to sort of change my mind on that and realize, you know what, leniency is just one of the internet's great gifts, and having the ability to not enjoy playing games that are supposed to be entertainment is one of its many benefits. So I changed my mind on that. That said, I only used a guide once, and only in this game. I mean, in Castlevania, I used the guide once, and only because I had a feeling where I needed to go was one place, but I was on the other side of the map, and I didn't want to trek the whole way and be wrong about it.
Understandable.
Because while speedrunners can blitz through this map, it is still
blindfolded. Yeah.
Yeah, it is still a little bit of a trial, a little bit of a trail to a heck of a lot of trekking to get from A to B in this game. Your maneuverability, your what did you call it?
Oh yeah, like the advanced movement options.
Advanced movement options. They're not all like. There's a lot of caveats to them. Like the fastest movement, I think, is the wolf, I guess, and he can't double jump. So anytime you hit a room of stairs, you just gotta get onto your feet. And a lot of rooms in Dracula's castle is gonna have fucking stairs. So it's not exactly straightforward getting from A to B, and there's no real quick and easy, dirty way to do it. So I used a walkthrough to make sure I was heading the right way. I had a feeling, because I didn't take notes, but there's a blue door unlock, very Metroid. There's you get the ability to open blue doors, and I knew I had passed them, and I remembered exactly where one was, but I couldn't quite place where the other was, and I had an idea, and I was like, it's probably there, which is the exact opposite of where I am. That's when I checked the walkthrough. But Castlevania Symphony of the Night is so immaculately designed, you will almost never need to do that. You should do it if something happens like that, but I honestly think probably most people won't have all that much of an issue. I'd say maybe one section, it's kind of luck, I guess, it's kind of an instinct thing, I suppose, to find out that if you just hang around the room with the clock for a couple of seconds, an entry will open for one of the areas of the game. Some people might miss that.
That's a real Braid solution to a puzzle, isn't it, huh? No, Fez as well. Fez and Braid.
Yeah, it's very Fez, yeah. I've never played Braid, so I don't know. Waiting on that HD option. But yeah, no, very, very Fez. Just chill out. I guess the hint is that there's a big fucking clock in the room. So
you know what? I think I actually solved that puzzle fairly easily because I had played Fez, and I thought to myself, what do you reckon the odds are that there's some fucking bullshit here? And lo and behold, there was.
So how long ago did you play Symphony of the Night?
Oh, crikey. It would have been, I don't know, but at least 6 years ago, probably a bit more.
So it's almost foundational for you to an extent. It forms the backbone of a lot of other experiences, I guess, including Blasphemy, which sounds very Symphony of the Night.
Well, I mean, it is one of the greatest games of all time, yada yada yada. So it was on the list anyway. So I had to get around to it, at least as a genealogical exercise.
Yeah.
But rarely, I had a great time doing it, so it's not like it was a burden.
Yeah, rarely do I think a lot of these games live up to the hype. And the last one that I played last year that really fucking stood up was Super Metroid. And it was because of my really good experience with Super Metroid that I wanted to play Symphony of the Night. Well, there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to play it. But one of the major ones that prompted me to play it this year was that Super Metroid was so good, and I had such a good experience that if they're pairing this with Symphony of the Night all the time, maybe it's a similarly great experience. And it was. In fact, I preferred it to Super Metroid.
Strong words. I mean, well, you've played the two now. You've played the Super Metroid, which is the Metroid in Metroidvania, and you've played Symphony of the Night, which is the Vania in Castlevania. Those are explicitly the two that people are thinking of when they use that term.
I have really high opinion of Super Metroid, but I feel like Castlevania was a tiny bit more satisfying to play.
It's definitely got a lot more finish on it.
Yeah, and
I think that's just the PlayStation-iness of it. It's got that leg up, that technological leg up that lets it do a little bit more.
I guess it comes really down to like the atmosphere and aesthetics, and I kind of preferred Symphony of the Night, even though they're doing two different things.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I like the sort of kitsch horror of Symphony of the Night.
The campy gothicness.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about it. Sometimes it's genuinely like, oh, that's a cool idea. It's kind of gross, but it's rendered in such a almost accessible way. Something about that was very enjoyable. I don't know. The other reason why I wanted to play this is because my first real experience of Castlevania, I was way late to this, was from the Netflix show.
Okay.
That was my first introduction, really, to the series.
Is this the episode where Lawrence, like, I feel like every once in a while...
It's coming out.
It's like, you poke me with a stick every once in a while. It's like, well, Lawrence, do you have anything you have to say about that? And I'm like, no.
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 He's fine. I don't know. I don't know if there's much to say about the show. I don't have anything to say about the show. I having no experience of Castlevania, thought it was cool and got me interested in a lot of the overarching lore of the thing. The whole, really, the Dracula side of things was interesting about that show. I liked his style. I liked his world. He seemed like a cool guy. And the fact that it was kind of based on the actual stories from the game had me wanting to go play the games and say, well, great, I enjoyed the show, I enjoyed what they did with the source material, so I didn't know games that far back had interesting enough source material worthy of adaptation. I should check them out. I did. I checked out all of the old Castlevania games, the ones prior to Symphony of the Night, bar Rondo of Blood.
Yeah.
Or Dracula X, which is, that's the same game. And
yeah,
what do you call it? I fucking had a terrible time playing those games.
Oh, really? Even Super Castlevania 4?
Yeah, I hated it. I hate that experience.
Oh, I love that game. That's one of my favorites of the bunch.
I guess what was my hesitance, but also the reason why I needed to play Symphony of the Night is that I was so tired of not enjoying Castlevania games. I got that big collection that came out a couple of years ago with all of them on it on the Switch, and I brute forced my way through the original game. I beat it, but I beat it by, I had one general rule, which is that I could save state at the start of a level. But I would have to beat the level in one go. And that experience was, yes, challenging, and I guess, like, fulfilling on some level, but it was also fucking awful.
I think I'm feeling the gentle shimmering of crystal lizards in the background when I hear that sort of thing. But just, oh, here we have Lee making things difficult for himself once again. It's not enough to simply enjoy something. You must do so. It's like, here's how you play the Crystal Lizards and Brainworm game, listeners. It's super fun. Here's how you play it. You make up a bunch of little rules for yourself, and then you follow them for the rest of your life until you die.
Yeah, all right. You're right. Here's my figure where this came from. So I for whatever reason, no matter how long I've been into video games, I never really cared about video game design all that much until I was a teenager and watched
Sequelitis.
Sequelitis, yeah.
Yeah. Huh? Mm-hmm.
And that got me onto that fucking nightmare train where you start over fucking analyzing games for no reason. And, you know, once you're past that phase, everything mellows out and you're happy. But there's something about the episode that he did about Castlevania and just how the first one was a very challenging and rewarding experience, just like Mega Man. And I've beat 3 Mega Man games, and I could honestly say I do not enjoy Mega Man games either.
I think he meant it purely in terms of purity of design.
Yeah, I got that. And I still, you know, I went the purest route, I should say, and found it unforgiving and not all that rewarding. I can see where those episodes are really good for teaching like clever level design and stuff like that. They're very informative for people getting into the subject. But then, you know, the mistake I made was taking them a little too literally and going to those games and playing them like an idiot and ruining my experiences of them. But then I went and played Castlevania 3 and 4 with just save states and just supposedly enjoying the experience. And I just realized I just don't like how they play. I just don't... I don't really care for the arcadey punishment of it.
That reminds me, one thing that was a really tough learning curve on Blasphemous, which is that in my brain I was playing a Castlevania game, right? Like my muscle memory was playing a Castlevania game. So what kept happening was I would keep dying because I would say I bumped into an enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like muscle memory is asserting that what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go and then like fly backwards with like
arc
my
backwards.
hand on my forehead, going oh no, and then arc backwards. But the penitent one doesn't do that in Blasphemous. He just sort of stays in the same position, and you get like a half second of invincibility frames before you get hit again. So many times in attempting to like mitigate this problem that wasn't going to happen, I just killed myself. I was like, I need to. My mind's in a rut. Gotta get over this.
Gotta unlearn the hard way. Brute force new mechanics.
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's perfectly fair. And I mean, at least playing old Castlevania games prepared me for the fallback arc of Symphony of the Night, where I wasn't bashing my head and expecting to, you know, land where I jump. But yeah, I mean, so playing Symphony of the Night was my attempt to redeem the series. Actually, I came to a brainworm dilemma because that package came with Rondo of Blood, which is the prequel to Symphony of the Night, and the menu screen gives you like the dual option, like those usual collections do. They put the 2 up there, and you have to choose. And Symphony of the Night is the second option. It lands you on Rondo of Blood first, and there's just this crisis. Like, oh god, this is the proof that brainworms are perfectly transmittable, like contagious.
Mimetically contagious.
Mimetically contagious, yeah. Is wrestling with myself, like, oh god, having not enjoyed so many Castlevania games, do I still try to play this in order and try to appreciate its historic value, or do I go to the one that people who don't really play Castlevania games still love?
Now, remind me again, is Rondo of Blood, is it an Igavania game, or is it more of a classic Castlevania game?
I believe it's somewhere in the middle.
So
I believe it was the first time that they were trying out the Igavania formula, but it's sort of caught up. I don't know because I haven't played it. So that's.
I was about to ask. That sounds like somebody who made their decision and never looked back.
Well, yeah, that's where that was going. Let me just double check actually, because I know Igarashi wasn't on Dracula X. He joined as co-director of Symphony of the Night.
Sorry, if memory serves, the lady who would later become his wife did work on Rondo of Blood. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, she worked
And
on
he
that.
was
He worked on
Tokimeki Memorial.
Thanks, Tim Rogers.
Thanks for that, Tim
so
Rogers.
much trivia. Yeah, that's right. And then that's how he clambered in. got his filthy paws on the series.
But people from both offices were like looking across the wall at the divider and what the other studio was doing, and goes, "Oh, I want to get in on that. That looks cool."
No, yeah. So it's Rondo of Blood is across 9 stages, so it's more like the original stuff.
No, so it's like a classic with the PlayStation 1 sheen on it.
Yeah, or whatever it was out. The PC Engine Super CD-ROM squared.
Mm-hmm.
You know the one. We all owned one. Grew up with such a device. Yeah, so there was a moment of hesitation, but I realized it was all or nothing with this outing. If I didn't enjoy Rondo of Blood, there was a chance I would put back playing Symphony of the Night another couple of years. And I just really wanted to like Castlevania after so long. So yeah. Anyway, I don't really need to describe the game. Lots of people know what it is. Watch a speed run if you haven't, got a general grip of it. What I'll say is what I particularly liked about it. That I will probably make the difference to somebody listening. One is the same thing I liked in Dark Souls, which is that exploration rewards a leveling system. So if you get lost, for example, or meander, you're still contributing to overall stats, which will come back. It rewards you taking yourself off the trail for a while if you're stuck on something or stuck somewhere or don't know how to advance. Take a walk, see the sights, check out all those unopened doors on the map. Yeah, and just have a nosy. You'll have to fight your way from A to B anyway, so you'll inevitably level up your stats as you're going, or pick up cool, interesting items in weird rooms that you haven't been to, or at least get some cash and buy something cool from the librarian guy.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I'm interested in this.
What does he say? Something like, Master Alucard!
Something like that. I'm interested in this.
Is that your Alucard?
Dark Metamorphosis.
Wow. Yeah, so that I liked. It's the same thing that I enjoyed in Dark Souls. The forgiveness in the game mechanics if you're not purely running this on action credit ability alone. There's a little leeway in wandering from left to right and eventually coming back and feeling. I mean, it comes back a little hard at the end of the game where I don't know if this is spoilers because it's a trait.
The inversion happens?
Yeah, the inversion happens in Castlevania.
I was going to ask you about that. Did you know about that when you played that game?
I knew from, I believe, the Zero Punctuation review of Bloodstained that it was a trait. I think that was the first time I had heard about it. But
I didn't know going into this game that was going to happen, and so my reaction was like, Are you for real? Like, is it the whole thing? It's the whole thing?
It's the whole thing.
The whole thing? Oh, okay.
Look, you can fly now by that point. So
I guess that helps.
Did you get the pure ending first try, or what happened for you?
I got the pure ending. Let's see. I can't remember. Like, I might have done a save state, and then to get the bad ending, and then just got the good ending after that. No, I think I just went straight for the good ending.
Yeah.
My time's preciously. The clock's ticking.
I guess you've got the completionist brain in this. You've got the brain worms that tell you to keep looking through all the doors before fighting what clearly looks marked as the final boss. So
you can fight Shaft.
You can fight Shaft. Man. What a weird, yeah. The weird thing about the leveling system, kind of unfortunately, because it does affect your memory of the game by the end, is that while you start the inversion feeling rather lacking in power, you get like 2 boss fights deep in it, and then suddenly you've stumbled on some super weapon that just cleans out the entire game, and I just I walked through like the last, I don't know, like 5 bosses without any even a do-over when the rest of the game was balanced in challenge. So the leveling system, I mean, I could have made the game harder on myself, but I'm not gonna fucking not use the good swords.
Did you catch the JoJo references?
I don't know, probably not.
One of the items that you can pick up is the stone mask. It's the same mask. It looks like it too.
Yeah, that's right. I did catch that one.
And I know there was at least one other, but I can't recall off the top of my head. I think it might have been a Hamon reference. I don't know.
Did you? I don't know if this is a thing that like there was a trophy on the PlayStation about it, which makes me think this is some sort of I don't know, inside knowledge in Castlevania fan lore or something like that. But did you get this like sword from a random ghost in the library that essentially does normal sword damage but 4 times faster than every other sword?
Oh, I think I got all of them. So yeah, most likely. Like I know that there's a fake ultimate sword, or like there's like a fake ultimate set.
Yes, there's
like,
Alucard set or something.
And then there's the Alucard set, which is like
right.
fake set that tricks you out, and then you get the real set later on, something like that.
I didn't know that. I did like cards on the table. I played. I guess it's up to 206% or something like that. I guess I get like
bullshit.
I did about 170 or something. I played, I think, all the major bosses, and I beat apparently the hardest one, which was the big tall boy. I don't know how to describe him other than that. He's like an Egyptian god or something like that, or something. And
I know the one.
He's apparently from Kid Dracula. He's the main villain from Kid Dracula.
Did not know that. Cool.
All the alternate bosses or optional bosses in the inversion are themed on recurring enemies from previous entries. So he's from Kid Dracula. You get to fight the zombie versions of the Castlevania 3 cast. And then there's a bunch of other ones. I think the only one that doesn't have its origins in earlier parts of the series that is optional is the what did you call it?
Legion,
yeah. He doesn't have.
Which is funny because like I'm pretty sure a version of Legion appears in every game henceforth.
So I found out.
Yeah,
doing
including
a little
the Souls
light digging.
games.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure a dead guy made out of a whole bunch of other dead guys is like a recurring
it's
Souls
the trait.
Let's see, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. Is there 1 and 3? I don't think there is 1 and 3, but there is 1 in Bloodborne.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes perfect sense for there to be 1 in Bloodborne. Speaking of, and one of the other things I really loved about this was that the bosses were really fun to fight. And combat in general, with its flashing lights and numbers, was always very satisfying. So, yeah, right? So if people like, I don't know, gambling machine levels of, like slot machine levels of flashy fulfillment, that's Symphony of the Night has that. And then just in general, the map.
Boy, we got a pachinko machine for you, buddy. Was it called Erotic Violence or some stupid shit like that?
What?
Oh, sorry, one minute. Let me just... I need to double check this. Castlevania pachinko machine.
Oh, right. Another excellent Konami venture. Late day Konami.
Yes, the tagline or like the big draw on the attract mode for the Castlevania pachinko machine is erotic violence.
Great.
Hmm.
Man,
One thing I do like
wish
about
I could support that company.
one thing I do like about the dynamic, I guess, between Alucard and the Belmonts is that when you get there, like you're familiar with this place, like you talk to people and it's like, hey, oh hey, you're here. That's
Yeah.
weird. Like the first conversation is with Def, and Def is like, are you meant to be here? Like like, does your dad know that you're here? It's kind of like Hades in that regard, actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it actually does have that thread going on, especially specifically with Death being your old pal.
Like there's this weird dynamic where Def is like, are you meant to be here? Like, does your dad know you're here?
Yeah,
We're
don't
gonna
like,
fight
don't
now,
make
but,
a mess.
yeah, you made this complicated, man. Why'd you do that?
Yeah. Anyway, I guess the other thing to impart about my experience is that built into this, I ended up getting a craving for this exact kind of game. Having known about Blasphemous ahead of time would have been very useful, in fact. But now we are where we are.
Well, luckily for you, there is no shortage of them, especially Castlevania ones. Like, there's a whole bunch of ones after this, like Order of Ecclesia, Aria of Sorrow.
Well, I don't. What? Yeah, go on. Name a bunch more. I'm amazed you remembered Order of Ecclesia. What? Yeah, I mean, I guess what I didn't want to play, and what happened was this Castlevania game was set up on my PS4, which just happens to be in the least comfortable room in my house to play video games. It's in my main living room, which even when is free, isn't.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that that's the least comfortable room in your house.
Yeah,
your
yeah.
living room.
Part of that is the sofa we have there. It kind of just doesn't feel comfortable to chill out in. Ultimately, it's also kind of out of the way. A lot of work stuff and all is way up here, so when I want to relax, I tend not to think first thing, go to the living room. That's more like where Maria, my wife Maria, and I will go when we're doing something together, like watching a show. So it just seemed it was out of the way. The PlayStation's down there, and a lot of the time, it's the room's being used anyway, and I'm like, but I had a craving, like, I want to keep playing this game. Where do I get my fix? And so I tried other options, and I didn't want to play another Castlevania game that came after Symphony of the Night because I wanted to beat it first. It wasn't so much that, it just didn't want to, I don't know if the stories knock into each other or not from that point onward, so I was just kind of like, oh, well, I don't want Shaft showing up in this game and it undoing the great victory of beating him in that game,
I haven't played any of the ones after that, even though I should. I find, like, just the knowledge that I've got them there waiting for me is sufficiently pleasing, if you know what I mean.
Do you actually own them?
No, I don't own any of them.
That's alright. So that would be a weird extra step, is to buy them but never want to play them.
I mean, shit, I've got enough games that I've been meaning to play that I've been sitting there for years that haven't been touched yet.
So I tried to find generally that 5. I guess at the time I was thinking I want something that has the same kind of action but isn't quite an investment like Symphony of the Night, which took, I don't know, all of 12 hours to beat. Maybe somewhere as high as 16. But that, that's why I was shocked by the 40-hour mark.
For Blasphemous,
mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's like, what? The short ones are 40 hours?
No,
Super Metroid took 10.
I guess Hollow Knight is just it is tampered with my expectations.
Yeah.
So fuck, you know what? I'm gonna dare I look at the Steam Hollow Knight. How long did it take me to finish that game in its entirety? I didn't even complete the boss rush DLC. Wasn't really worth the time.
You don't need to do that.
66.5 hours for Hollow Knight. And I enjoyed every last one of them.
That is RPG levels of commitment. You know, or Stellaris time. I don't know if I've got that for Hollow Knight. But yeah, so I tried to find a fix on other hardware to sort of tide me over while playing this, and for one, I went back to the old Castlevania games to try and shift my opinion on it now that I was enjoying one. That didn't happen.
No.
It didn't happen at all. I just don't enjoy them.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't go back to Rondo of Blood. That seemed like it would have been
Unfortunately, I only own Rondo of Blood on the PlayStation. So, that was kind of... Hands were tied on that one. The other game I dabbled in to kind of get the fill was Yacht Club Games and... what are they called? Machine Head Games? Something like that? Called Cyber Shadow. We might have talked about it in a news story some time ago.
Okay. Let me look this up.
What's it called? Cyber Shadow. And I want to get the name of the company right. Mechanical Head. Yeah, Machine Head are the Wolfenstein guys these days.
Yeah, I heard Yacht Club. I thought, oh, did he play Shovel Knight? But no, it's Oh yes. This is more like a Ninja Gaiden type game.
Well, yeah. I mean, Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania are much of a muchness, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all in that same vein. Brutal arcade action. This is a game that's a lot more forgiving and has a little bit of backtracking in it, as far as I could tell. I played about an hour and a half of it. It didn't really click. I guess when you play a game about a ninja, one of the things that video games has taught me to expect from ninja games is a little bit of maneuverability, and you basically can run and jump. not much else. Maybe you unlock double jumping or wall climbing somewhere down the line, but you don't start the game with them, and for the first two and a half stages, you don't get anything. You don't get any upgrades like that. And I was like, how long are they gonna hold out making this ninja fun to play? So I give it an unfair dismissal and moved on. It was on Game Pass, by the way. I did buy it and not play it. That would be weird. But either way, these failed experiments meant that I went back and played Symphony of the Night in a general rush next to the kind of pace I tend to play games. So I burned it out in like a week and a half or something like that. And man, what a great time!
Did you play Richter mode?
I did not play Richter mode.
Well, if you're desperate for effects, you could give Richter mode a try.
I could give Richter mode a try. I don't know. I think like the next thing I would do is try Rondo of Blood. Hopefully it'd be good. I don't know. Could be. It might also. Now that I found out it's not a Metroidvania in that sense, in the sprawling level sense. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll just go back to Bloodborne. Maybe I'm in more of a mood to play Bloodborne thanks to Symphony of the Night. So
that's good because Bloodborne is pretty much a 3D Castlevania game.
Exactly.
It is in fact, I would go so far as to say it is the best 3D Castlevania game.
You don't know that. You never played Lords of Shadow.
I've seen enough, I think.
I guess the worrying thing about that is that when people bring it up, they compare it more to God of War. And Shadow of the Colossus, now that I think about it. Yeah. So, not exactly a fitting comparison. Anyway, that's Symphony of the Night. That's all I really have to talk about that. Really good game, shocking no one. This classic of the canon.
Striking while the iron is hot, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a good game, actually.
Yeah. I guess if people have been holding off playing it or didn't grow up with it like I didn't grow up with it, you might be...
Well, now that we've told you, you have permission. You have our permission to play it now.
You might be enticed.
The cult leaders have said it is so. You may now play Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, maybe I just... maybe Lawrence, if you could say it, you influence people, right? If you could tell them.
Symphony of the Night is a good game, and you should play it.
I know, I'm convinced.
I've spaced that apart just so that you can just squeeze any game that you want in there.
Yeah, I just use that clip. Keep a clip
Uh-huh.
of that from now on. Just not even games you approve of, games I play, and they're like, it's a good game. It's like, thanks, Lawrence, for the seal of approval.
Kingdom Hearts 365 2 is Birth by Sleep is a good game.
Well, now I have that clip anyway, so you probably would enjoy that. I want to talk about another game. I'm going to try and keep it quick. I wrote a bunch of crap about it, but I don't want to fucking yammer on. Let's try and keep this episode shockingly brisk next to the last two.
We're coming up on an hour and a half. Let's get this done.
Yeah. So I played a game that was on the backlog of my list for quite a while, and continuing the vein of PS3 games, I don't know, because I got my PS3 back as of last week. Turok. I actually did want to find Turok. I used to own it.
You did. I knew you've just like sunk your arms into the trash and like just pull them up to see what you can find after Haze.
This one is not considered trash, or it's not even that old. It's actually very late PS3. But I did want to find Turok. I've been to CEX a number of times. I went today, in fact, and got a couple more to the pile. But yeah, no, I wanted. I did want to get Turok because I used to own it, or I should say, Shane, my brother Shane used to own it.
Did, that's right, I remember.
And I played all of like 20 minutes of it, and I was like, this is terrible. But mostly because I was judging it against the high peak standard of my only other exposure to Turok, which is Turok Evolution, which formed a weird, I know it's bad, but it's my childhood, shut up, kind of backbone to my life at that point. Since
and then you
revisiting,
forced yourself to play it on stream and slowly came to the shuddering realization that this is terrible.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
I might still try to beat it at some point. Thing is, that PS2 I was playing it on it wasn't mine, and it got taken back. So that's why I haven't played it at all in a year. But I have the memory card. Maybe I don't. Oh no, I should have thought about this. I might need to get that back. Ugh. Anyway, I also kind of thought maybe I would just play it through on PC at some point. It turns out there's a PC port, and playing it on the PS2 fucking analog sticks with terrible sensitivity options is a absolute chore. So if I go back to it, I might just play it on PC and at least enjoy it to some extent. Anyway, what am I talking about this week? I played a little game called Rain, which a lot of people won't remember ever hearing about.
Wait. 1 minute. Let me see the front cover of this thing.
It didn't have a physical release.
PS3.
It was a digital only game as far as I was aware.
Is this vampire related? I'm thinking of Dark. Never mind.
Yeah, okay. It's not Dark. Dark's isn't. Oh no, yeah, I guess. That'd be about the same time. No, it's Rain is something completely different. And it is joining the pile of games. I think we need a branching name for this type of game, whose remarkable atmosphere and vibe are just so potent that you will overlook the fact that it has not made the best of its own mechanics at all. I
believe cult classic is what people normally say. Games that are interesting but not good.
It's not that it's not good. It's specifically that the atmosphere is so poignant that you'll forgive the fact that you're not doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking something like the Machine for Pigs effect, or the Chinese Room effect.
Yeah, no, definitely cult classic. I guess indie cult classic.
Cult classic has to do with its popularity. It's nothing to do with the actual type of game I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But it falls into that Machine for Pigs.
Just reminds me of that one John Carpenter line where he said, "I make cult classics. That means I make movies that nobody went to see."
Yeah, that's it. But loads of people play it, Rain, as far as I was aware. I don't know if it's a classic. I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, for those who don't know, late PS3 era, Rain was a game about essentially you play as a boy who, in the middle of the night when it's raining, looks out his window, sees a ghostly girl being hunted down by what can only be described as an amalgamation between early Silent Hill type abomination and the abstract concept of like a mean headmaster. It's like this anthropomorphic, faceless, jagged collection of cubes with its only prominent feature being a long outstretched finger that it points at you as it walks towards you and sort of judges you. It's great. I love it. It's very creepy. Anyway, despite creating a great disconnect between me and the main character, he leaves barefooted out the window in chasing the girl and the monster in the rain.
Not even slippers, honestly.
Like, what the fuck? And that's the premise of the game. Anyway, the premise is you're in some sort of midnight hour where nobody's awake, or you're in some sort of phantom world. You and the girl are rendered as ghostly, out-of-body versions of yourself, and you're invisible except when you step in the rain. And that forms the best mechanic, the smartest mechanic of the game. Basically the only really good mechanic of the game, unfortunately, which is it's a kind of a stealth game, and there are monsters, and you are visible in the rain and under shelters and little outcroppings from the buildings and bridges and so on. You're invisible, and you gotta solve little puzzles like that. So the crux is like there's like 8 or 9 chapters. There are a bunch of monsters, including that headmaster thing, which is called the Unknown, and you're walking through this beautiful rain-drenched Parisian town. And you go to a circus at one point, and then you go home. That's the game.
Is it a single enemy? A single persistent enemy, or are there other enemies?
There is a single persistent enemy in the sense that guy keeps coming back chapter after chapter, but there are a couple of other versions of monsters. There's like a dog monster, there's like little tiny ball creatures that climb up on you and eat your flesh. There's some sort of rhino thing. Yeah, there's some interesting ones.
It does appear very much to be like a 3D Playdead game, like your Limbo or your Inside. At least superficially, it resembles it.
When was Limbo? Because it is of that era, but it's probably just
Limbo
a little
would have been
after.
earlier. If you say it was late PlayStation 3, then Limbo was much earlier.
Yeah, they're 3 years apart. Just enough time to make Limbo. Make your own version of Limbo. Anyway, I say that the game has a lot of great atmosphere, but is, despite good mechanics, is because it has a lot of interesting ideas that it doesn't make the best of at all, and is shockingly deeply unchallenging despite a light horror stealth vibe. But it's very pretty.
It does look kind of sedate in a sort of, again, in a Limbo kind of way, where it's like, there's never anything terribly difficult.
Yeah.
Just like occasional challenges, but you can take as long as you need in order to figure them out, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'd say at least Limbo probably demands a little bit of platform puzzling, that you do have to work something out. I don't know if I really had to spend much time working out these puzzles. So it doesn't have that. What it does have is a lot of great creative ideas. Like, it's almost like they had the perfect idea for what this game was going to be, because they introduce challenging concepts that they then go on to do nothing with. Like, they add like interesting mechanics like muddy puddles and clean puddles. Every time you step in a muddy puddle, you start to leave footprints even undercover. So you have to find a clean puddle to wash your feet. And so you can go through segments where you can only turn invisible properly if you root it around a clean puddle before this thing catches you. What they weirdly don't do, though, is they they basically every time they introduce a muddy puddle, they introduce a clean puddle before you even see any monsters. Like use it once effectively, and then they just sort of have them there to tease you with the idea of the game. It's really weird how they don't do anything with it. It actually was like, as it kept going on, I'm like, why do they keep putting these here if they're not going to actually put any monsters here to challenge me with? Now I'm just leaving footprints. It's really weird.
Is it to build atmosphere, maybe?
I guess.
Just kind of going like, oh, there could be a monster around here at any moment. Look, it's doing the amnesia thing, where it starts showing you tutorials for how to run and hide away before the monster is even in the area, that sort of thing.
That's right, exactly. Just like Machine for Pigs. Like, by the way, here's how to duck inside things. Like, oh,
and you're
is that going to come up?
Is that relevant? Should I know that right now?
No, just keep it in your back pocket. And then, it goes on to use that idea once and then not again for the rest of the game. Almost exactly like Machine for Pigs. It also introduces the idea that you can splash in puddles to use as sound to draw monsters away. Again, used effectively once, and then kind of there's no other puzzle in the game where you need to splash to solve the puzzle.
Is the little girl that you're following, is she a character that you need to look out for, or is she just like...
That is an idea.
So is it like an Ico situation?
It is exactly like an Ico situation. You eventually...
Is it better or worse than Ico?
See, I've not played Ico, so I can't comment to that, but I can say it's not great. Because it does that thing, where she works in tandem to solve puzzles and then kind of gets separated now and then, and on the other side acts almost like a timer to solve a puzzle, but most of the time it's a fake timer. Like, she'll just sort of be in general
peril,
yeah. And but not under threat until you progress in the puzzle, and then it's like, okay, all right, it's cinematic. It's not actually a time limit. It's not the game challenging you. Also, there's other things. Another mechanic that they bring up is the ability to lift dolls while invisible, so to lure things away. Like, get things chase you in invisible sections, and then you leave the doll behind, and these monsters tear the shit out of the doll, and you move on with your life. These are great fucking stealth game mechanics that would have been made for really interesting puzzles that they literally almost never use. Like, they just introduce, there's one good puzzle for each of those ideas, and then they're kind of scattered throughout the game in small ways, but they never really do anything with them. A lot of them culminate in the big circus area of the game, and they culminate in what is a very rote circular pattern, which makes it very obvious which way you're supposed to solve this. And that was like the last time the game tried to be interesting. And then a lot of it is atmospheric, walking down streets in the rain. Claire de Lune is playing. It's very poignant.
Match.
It's got a nice atmosphere. It's very tranquil. It's you're feeling like two kids abandoned in your own world. It's dark. It's scary in a kid-friendly sense.
You're a small child in a big world.
Yeah. Your head is bigger.
To use the... Oh, of course. Okay.
You're cutting off, by the way. Are you okay? Is your internet all right?
Oh, am I?
Talk
Can
for a
you hear
little
me?
bit. That sounds fine.
Oh, that's okay. That's relief. All right.
Whew.
We're live now, so
yeah,
I hope you have a Simpsons-esque technical difficulties. Please stand by. Screen.
Not a funny one.
Hard cut to Animal Crossing and a blank screen.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, aside from all that design thing, I still really liked Rain. I bring up all those things so I'm not misleading people and saying, hey, Rain's a really immaculately designed game and you'll love it. Like, it is very interestingly lacking in... I think what's most fascinating about it is that it showcases a lot of great ideas for what the game's going to be, and then doesn't do any of them. It just sort of... It almost looked like it was there was a conflict between who was making this game and for what reason. You know, the direction of the game seemed very muddied. Because my guess on this was that, see, Rain was created as a part of the PlayStation Camp initiative. I can't remember what Camp stands for, but
Yes, they were trying to make a big push for indie games to be on the PlayStation. Yeah.
So what happened for PlayStation 3 after it finally found its audience was that it started to differentiate itself from Xbox by being the artist's platform. Where high quality art games, and it still kind of forms the backbone of what PlayStation is today. When you think of games like Ghost of Tsushima, where they're presented to the public in their first outing in these very artfully, tastefully done musical concert experiences. Like, yes, the high class man's gaming experience, the PlayStation.
Are you referring to the E3 conference where they had a white guy in a rice hat playing flute?
That very same one. But yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's ain't your Xbox experience.
Okay, Lee, this might be the Mandela effect, but like, did they have a whole bunch of like fake reeds around him when he did that, or have I completely like invented that in my head?
No, I think he was in some sort of traditional garb though.
He was in a rice hat and some traditional garb. But like,
was he in a rice hat? I don't.
He
was
in a rice. I distinctly recall him being in a rice hat.
Jesus.
And I think they had like reeds around him, like he was in like a field somewhere. That was the idea. But
no,
I don't think so. That might have been my mind embellishing.
He was lonely on stage on a chair, and behind him, cinematic
Wind
shots,
maybe.
Yeah, shots of the beautiful landscape of Ghost of Tsushima started airing.
Maybe that was it. Maybe they were digital reads from the game itself.
Yeah, that makes there was a lot of blowing wind effects. It's very, very, very exciting. Anyway, PlayStation Camp is the same initiative that brought us Tokyo Jungle, for those who remember that game, about animals in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo eating each other and living among each other to survive. Pretty interesting, pretty weird concept. And it fell off the back of the success, I believe, of the output from, are they called The Game Company or That Game Company? The guys who made Journey and Flower and Flow.
To my embarrassment, I never actually played any of those games at any point. I know, including Journey, the good one.
I preferred Flower. I think Flower's a really good game. I mean, again, they're both good.
Fun bit of trivia. You know who published Blasphemous? It was Team 17.
Wow, yeah, they're getting about.
Yeah, they are getting about. Every time Team 17's logo comes up, I go, is it the Worms people? They make this game? Wow, they're really stretching out, but no, they're just publishers.
They're just publishers now, yeah, proper publishers. I mean, they were before, but now they seem to have seen the success of Devolver Digital, and they're reaching out to compete with them.
So like every time I see their logo, like it's really jarring because my brain hasn't really fully grokked to the idea that they're a publisher. I just go, did the Worms people make this game? What?
They published something interesting recently that I played, and I just want to double check it because they had a sale on the other day with a very on the Steam store, and they had this really good like picture splash page of all their IP in one thing that they had published recently that were in the sale. So it was weird to see Worms and the Overcooked guys with the Blasphemy guy, as I knew him at that point. Yooka-Laylee. They published Yooka-Laylee.
Oh, that matches.
Yeah.
Can you hear that alarm?
Very brief. It was there a second ago. Is everything okay?
No, it's like a car alarm in the distance. It's fine, I'm sure. If you can't hear it, then it should be fine.
I can hear it when you talk, weirdly.
Oh, maybe there's like a sound cancellation. I guess I'll just resolve this problem by not talking. Please continue.
That doesn't sound good. They also did a game I played last year. I didn't really talk about it, called Yoku's Island Express, which was fine. Nice pinball Metroidvania. I like pinball games. I didn't really care for the Metroidvania part. I kind of got bored. Anyway, Rain. Part of PlayStation Camp, and so it had a lot of very cinematic things, like elements to it. Like it had that thing with two AI people, like you boost somebody up onto a ledge and then they push down a ladder. You know, Naughty Dog were big fans of that at the time, and
classic.
It was just about reaching its peak in the mainstream of video games. That cinematic last for us, boost me up, bring me up, so on and so forth. You know, it was about a year away from being in Gears of War, if that kind of elucidates the peak of arcade video games becoming too cinematic. But it was weird. Rain had a lot of that, and I was interested on whether this was a mandated change on behalf of Sony and the Camp Initiative. It's Camp Initiative, great. And if it was on their behalf, or if the director just sort of, the creator or the director, decided that they wanted to make something different along the lines. Because I could see a narrative where both were true. And I did some digging, and here I will dish out as much about the background of Rain that I know, because it was actually surprisingly interesting.
If I were the guess, I would say Sony probably didn't push too hard, because the whole point of, I assume the whole point of the indie initiative is to let talent
do what the fuck they want.
Sprout. Let them sprout and do their own thing.
Yes,
that's my guess.
But what if they wanted to make a horror game, and they're part of the post-Journey lineup that has to be shown off at E3 to keep pushing the agenda that PlayStation games are artful and meaningful experiences?
Oh, because, as you know, Lee, horror cannot be artful.
Yeah, well, I mean, in those days, certainly not.
Was this at the height of the Roger Ebert inferiority complex?
I feel like that was a few years earlier. I feel like his apology was in, like, 2013. Not apology.
Yeah, okay.
I should never use the word apology for that statement.
No, his last spiteful statement before dying, I guess.
Yeah.
From hell's heart I stab at thee.
Exactly. Yeah, so anyway, so the director of Rain was a guy called Yuki Akeda, and it was his first and really shockingly only foray into the video game industry. He didn't go on to do anything else. In fact, he left the industry to go and to help form a company that supplies software support to blogs, and apparently has been doing that ever since, according to his LinkedIn. This is how far down this rabbit hole I went. I don't know why I did this. Mutual, just fascination, because Rain had left so many unanswered questions.
Said Lawrence, thoughtfully glancing at the running time.
Yeah, I know. I promise you, it has an interesting special guest cameo with some beautiful irony that you'll love. So bear with me. We'll get to it. Anyway, so I read a bunch of articles, and one here translated from Kotaku, but it's from Weekly Famitsu. They asked him about what the fuck happened, and he said initially the game was developed more like a stealth action game. In fact, the initial idea was that it was going to be a game where you are always invisible, and then, you know, they had people play it and they realized it was fucking exhausting trying to keep track of a character you couldn't see. So that's when they introduced the rain and lack of rain for visibility.
Give it like the Predator thing going on there.
Yeah, exactly. Then they added, in this quote it says, initially the game was developed more like a stealth action game, but adding too many action elements amped up the difficulty too much. And you know, the actual quote from Akeda was, it would have restricted the game's audience. But that still comes from Akeda. Was it he who decided he wanted more people to play it? Or was it PlayStation that mandated that he should do this? So we lowered the difficulty and added more adventure games elements like puzzles and tricks. That at least explains that there was definitely a shift in development from all those mechanics I mentioned, right? You know, like all these puzzles, all these stealth, more dynamic, more challenging ideas were curtailed before any use and just formed sort of, I guess, like you said, a little bit of background tone and and environmental detail.
Well, you have all the information here, so I'm going to open myself up to a fall here, but I'm going to take the position that this was not an edict that came from on high and was in fact an in-studio decision.
Fair. I mean, there are only two choices. Somebody fucked up and I want to know. Yes, and then, so there's also the fact that the next game Akeda wanted to make was a quote-unquote violent one, which hints at meddling with the tone from the studio mandate, like it makes it seem like Sony was involved. Do I have a quote for that one? Really? I just have an article. I'll link these articles. This one is from JewelShockers.com. You know the one. The infamous Sony interviewee platform, of course. Anyway, they interviewed him, and he said the next game he wanted to make was a horror-inspired action game or a violent game. So, seems like he wanted to do that. Why did he change his mind? Again, the answer is I don't know, because he doesn't actually say. I don't have an answer for the bet, and it doesn't give away the fact that it could have just had regrets about the idea that he directed it to be.
Games are a collaborative process. Maybe there was back and forth in the office, things like that. It happens.
I could see buckling to wanting to make the game more inclusive. I don't see it's not exactly a fucking crime. I want more people to play my game. Maybe an out and out horror stealth. Like the things that hold over are that when you die in the game, which is hard to do, when you fail a puzzle, you get caught. Go back to a checkpoint, but there's a splash screen when you're caught, and it says something like, "The children disappear into the night."
And they're never seen again.
Something like that, and there's like splotches on the screen which look like they used to be blood, but are colored blue and purple. It's just like, did they really not? They really wanted it. They really must have got very far into development before shifting tact, because they had clearly worked on all these mechanics and even some of the horror themes that they couldn't even shake before they released it. And yet it all feels like it steps back. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think probably Akeda chose to shift tact somewhere down the line, and the shame of it drove him from the industry. I mean, Rain was actually pretty well received. Loads of people said the same thing as I did, unfortunately, which invalidates me bothering to say it, which was that it felt like it was going to be one thing and then was another, and that it wasn't very challenging. But it was pretty and thematic. And now is the portion for our special guest, because lastly, like all great tales, there must be an insider, a great commentator to deal the summary blow. And it is with great pleasure that I introduce 2013's pre-Mighty Number 9 launch, Keiji Inafune.
Oh, really? Maybe he ruined everything.
He could have. No. It's just he happens to be on the ground floor behind the story, so I thought I would share the anecdote that was published. So the scene is, and this is me maybe over-dramatizing, maybe misinterpreting how this was. Maybe it's a slightly false retelling of how this article worded this. So there was a Purple Monkey dishwasher, and Keiji Inafune and Yuki Akeda met at the very same meeting, with PlayStation pitching each of their games. One would become Rain, the other would become PlayStation Vita's smash hit, Soul Sacrifice. Which...
I can't... Wait, sorry, 1 minute. Soul Sacrifice. Is that the one with the detective who got shot a bunch of times? And he's a ghost?
No.
What am I thinking of?
No. I don't know what that is.
Soul Sacrifice.
It's Soul Sacrifice, which I played a little bit of, is it was anime as balls. It was it's kind of like a 3D brawler. I kind of forget now. It was interesting.
It's got like a berserk thing going on.
Yeah. It's got a lot of nails sticking out of people.
Can't go wrong with that. It's a
Yeah.
good design. It's a strong design.
Strong design. Strong step. But yeah, I don't remember anything really good about it. I did own it from the PlayStation Plus on the Vita, but I didn't play it for very long. It was built to be like a multiplayer experience, and apparently was relatively successful in Japan. But there was nobody to play it with here, so it just didn't really catch on with me. Anyway, Famitsu then decided to check in with Inafune, probably about Soul Sacrifice, and he ended up talking about Rain. Most likely because he brought up that anecdote I just said about they were at the same meeting. And from there, he gave his view of the game, and it was pretty much exactly kind of what I said. He said, quote, "The atmosphere is good, the music is beautiful, but I felt that there were a lot of near misses in the game." Then he kind of gave some not-too-fair criticism about the humming and hawing about the concept of the game, and that it didn't really pick a lane, and he seemed to cast most of the fault of indecision on the Ikeda, but he phrases it mostly as a learning experience. He has one brutal line in there, though, about the shifting tack during development. He says, quote, sometimes things work out even when the core shifts, but that's only by coincidence. Most of the time, it doesn't work out. You shouldn't strive for coincidence. Ow! You shouldn't strive for coincidence. Jesus, man.
Holds himself to a high standard.
Yeah.
And now he makes software for blogs.
No, that was Inafune
Oh, I see.
talking about Rain. Akeda disappeared into that good night. He went quietly, I should say. Went gently.
Coincidentally, Inafune is a hack.
Yeah. Lastly, I leave my week with another article from Kotaku, a choice line from 2013's Toshi Nakamura, who wrote the article. It's about what Keiji Inafune thought about Rain, and it reads, quote unquote, this is again pre-Mighty Number 9. Wise words. I feel a little more secure in my investment in Mighty Number 9 now. This is before the game came out. This is before the... And then...
I would like to think so, yes. I would like to think that he said that before the game came out.
And also, in that sentence is a link to a Luke Plunkett article titled Capcom Abandoned Mega Man, full stop, you saved him, full stop. It talks about the closing of Mighty Number 9's Kickstarter. And oh, what precious baby foals the journalists were.
Dramatic irony.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'm going to link all of that for any readers who want to revel in pure irony. Excellent stuff. Good job, Kotaku. Really got on board there for all the right reasons. And that's my week. Do you want to go up? Do you need a break, or shall we power through the news? Is there that much news?
I don't have a huge amount of news. Right, give me a minute.
All right, well, be back in a mo. And we're back. Alright, it's the news.
Who's the black private mage that's a hex machine to all the vampires? Shit! You're damn right. Who is the man that would risk his neck for his master man? Shift! Can you dig it? Who's the cat that won't cop out when there's danger all about? Shift! Right on. News!
Wow. I was wondering how you were going to cram the news in there somewhere. Is this our first time with full lyrics?
No, I've had lyrics before. I did the Major General song at one point, I think.
Yes, okay. Were you reading that from somewhere? Is that just the lyrics to Shaft? No, you had alternate ones. Were they on the internet somewhere, or did you make them?
No, I just made them up.
What?
As far as I'm aware, there is no Castlevania Shaft parody, although now that I think about it, there probably should be.
So it really should be.
I haven't looked hard enough.
Alright, it's the news. This week. New Switch. There's a new Switch. New Switch.
Oh, yes.
Disappointing the masses.
Not a Switch, bro. We never promised a Switch, bro. We never said it was going to be a Switch, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know why... Yeah, okay,
are you saying there's something wrong with your current Switch? We're just giving you options. Slightly higher screen fidelity.
It's an OLED screen and that's it. There's no hardware improvements. There's no I mean, yes, okay.
The dock comes with a LAN port.
Yeah, okay, so the Ethernet port is an improvement that is substantial for fighting game players because it reduces jitter. Which is actually a big deal in that very specific niche, but otherwise not
Apparently,
too much.
though, you can just buy that port separately. The dock, I should say. So you don't actually have to own the Switch, the new Switch, to get that sweet LAN experience for still probably bad Smash matchmaking.
So in many ways, I am not at all surprised by this because this is such a fucking Nintendo thing to do. Nintendo will never fails to pick like the unnecessarily complicated or strange option. I don't know if this is. I couldn't speculate why. Nintendo always has to be fucking Nintendo about these things. I mean, yes, okay, I appreciate. We didn't know. They never said it was going to be a Pro.
Yeah.
But listen, all I want to know is, have you fixed the drift problem? Have you fixed the controller drift problem? I bet you have, haven't you? You have. You're not saying anything, Nintendo. Why aren't you saying anything? Well, you have fixed this, right? I mean, if you had fixed it, I feel like you would be bragging about it. That would be a selling point. But you haven't said anything, Nintendo. Why are you silent, Nintendo?
Well,
say something, Nintendo.
They are being sued, so I don't know if they can say something. Don't worry, it's fixed now. Seems like something that you can't say while it pertains to details in court.
I suppose that's true, but it would be such a fucking Nintendo thing to do for this OLED version
to still have the drift
to still be there.
Yeah, of course.
It's a sort of their way of going. What do you mean? There's no problem. There
was no problem. Yeah. To prove their case in court, like people's things are just malfunctioning on their own. We didn't have anything to do with it.
I'm not joking when I say that. Whether or not I buy this thing is dependent on whether or not they fix this drift issue. Because I had a drift problem with, I think it was my PS4, and I hated it. It is the worst. It sucks super bad. And if they still haven't fixed this, for God's sake, I hope that there is a third party. There's a third party, really creaky, translucent, Mad Catz third-party controller that I can buy that I will be very unhappy with that doesn't do this. But don't make me do that, Nintendo. I have
a feeling they're fixed these days because I've had mine repaired by Nintendo and it hasn't messed around in over a year now. So I'm hoping that's because they figured the fucking whatever's wrong with it out and they just now have a backlog of problematic drift controllers out there in CEX waiting to be bought up. Unsuspecting saps. Maria also has the Switch Lite, and there's not been any drift in that, and it's been a relatively recent. That was for Christmas, so I mean, I assume it didn't take very long for the drift to kick into my Switch controllers. I should just say that. So it took a while to get them fixed, and now after post the last one falling and getting fixed last year, there has been no issue. So I would imagine they're on top of this, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they're not.
And then this news came with the double whammy of like fucking Valve just coming out of nowhere with this fucking Steam Deck. What's this? It's a pseudo Switch that handheld that you can play your Steam library on. Holy shit, dude! You fucking killed them. You didn't have to do that. Just put a shotgun between the blades of their shoulders and pull the trigger. Holy fuck!
I don't think anyone's under the impression this thing is actually going to. Even Valve have said they don't want to compete because they know it's a more niche idea. Although $400 for the thing—that's a get. What the hell? Even if it does work with weird Linux operating ports for every Windows program, it's still a better risk.
Windows. It can in fact run Windows, and it can run Linux as well, I think.
It's built on Linux architecture, so yes, from that you should be able to install Windows.
I mean, this seems like such an because they did the Steam Link, and I don't even know what the fuck that was. And
I own it,
and I still aren't entirely sure what big picture mode. And
it's
they had
not
this
good.
other thing. They had what was the other thing? There was the Steam Link, and there was one other.
Was there?
I can't remember.
Was there like Steam TV or something like that?
It might have been a Steam Box or a Steam TV. I can't.
Oh yes, the Steam machines. Who could forget? These their own weird peripheral branding to what were generally inefficient and lacking in hardware strength normal PCs that were built to run big picture mode. I don't know. It's weird.
Now they have what seems to be, to me at least, to be the obvious choice, which is, what if we just had a handheld console that you could play your Steam games on? They go, yeah, okay, let's do that. I mean, people are comparing it to the Switch, but it looks like a Game Gear, if I'm being honest.
I said the exact same thing. Maybe it's something to do with the big
it's the
chunky
proportions.
pads.
Exactly, yeah. It's like it's a chunk. It's fucking thick. This thing.
Yeah. Apparently, it's heavy as balls as well. The whole your hand. It is a PC.
Fortunately for me, I don't actually take my handheld consoles out and about with me. I just play them in like bed or something. Yeah. Or like I take them to
this
Donegal
would suit you because
like
it seems to have the battery life of the fucking Game Gear. It said that if you're playing a game. I think if you're playing Portal 2, they said somewhere between 4 hours and maybe just a little over 4 hours of battery life.
Perfect for your Portal speedrunning needs. In case you needed a little bit of motivation to keep things going along.
It can get up to 10 hours is what they said. But a game that's relatively old by the standards of the games that this thing can play now, or is purported to be able to play, is bringing that battery life right down to 4 hours is it's pretty shocking. But I mean, still cool. Why not get one? Everybody, the more people stepping into this handheld world, them be my favorite type of console. So everybody should give it a whirl.
It can be a direct one-to-one replacement for your PS Vita. There you go.
Shut up. That'll never happen.
You can play Persona 4 the Golden on it. So there you go.
That is
all
true.
The reasons that you could have had to play a PS Vita, you now have the Steam.
That's so true.
You now have the Steam Deck.
Yeah, my best selling points for the Vita was that a lot of great indie games made it over there in a really good sized portable, and now that's out of. Well, I guess the size is still in the running. Vita will still probably be the nicest console to play on that I can think of. But yeah, I mean, like Steam Deck, yay, interesting. We'll see what people generally think about it. The only other thing to note about it is its weird face buttons.
Oh, the haptic buttons?
No, the face buttons that are up and are directly to the right of the analog stick.
look at this.
They
I don't know what the deal is with the haptic controllers. Like, I mean, I've seen people like applauding them, going, "Yes, more haptic stuff. I'm glad that Steam's paying attention to this sort of thing," but I don't actually know what they do. Okay, let's see.
You're talking about the little mouse pads on either side. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I have I have outed myself. I own Steam Link, which isn't a great product. I got it for £20, but even still, it was pretty bad.
I don't even know what it does.
If you have a decent Wi-Fi in your house, you can run your PC, open Steam on your PC, then stream it to your TV without cables via the Steam Deck. No, the Steam.
Couldn't I just move my computer to my TV and use my TV as
the idea, I believe, is that you can have it in different rooms. You know, so you don't have to lumber your PC around. You can play it wherever the fuck you want.
No, I wouldn't shell out money for that convenience.
No,
I'd just move the computer.
For the novelty of it and the controller, I give over a relatively paltry £20, and yes, I have tried out this haptic feedback before, and I don't really get it. I don't get it at all. It didn't feel fun or interesting to use. But yeah, you see the face buttons on this, right?
The X, Y, A, B?
Yeah, like they're directly to the right of the analog stick.
Yeah, that is a bit strange.
That seems very uncomfortable. Seems very, like, your hand would naturally not make that... I don't know, it just...
I feel like you might hit the X button by accident by turning right.
I guess they want you to use the haptic thing as the analog stick to look around. You know, like the right side one, they want you to use mouse look instead of controller. That looks like something that's not going to be comfortable to do.
Can it run Crisis is the cliche, I suppose.
Yeah, I've seen Tim Rogers joke about that on Twitter.
I mean, he told me something that I didn't know, which is that apparently the reason why that is because Crisis is horribly poorly optimized.
Oh.
But that even modern machines have trouble running it. Yeah. So it's like
I've always wondered.
I guess that really takes the sales out of this game is so visually impressive. It is the benchmark for visually. No, it's just like you didn't optimize your code. It's shite.
Yeah. All right. Elsewhere in the news, Nickelodeon made surprising headlines with an authentic-looking Smash clone called Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. We mentioned it earlier. Teased it.
And Zim is in it, so I'm happy about that.
Danny Phantom, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, no, like, it's weird to me because, like, there's been a number of these sorts of, like, Nickelodeon party games on, like, the PS2 and the PS3, and Zim is in all of them, even though, like, they don't give, like, any attention to the franchise besides that, so it's, like, for years before the Netflix, like, special came out, this was the only, like, attention paid to the character, and I was like, am I really going to buy one of these fucking games just so I can play as him? No.
To hear Invader Sim say a few more lines.
Just so we can hear Richard Horvitz get paid for another few years.
Yeah. I remember somebody
But no,
said...
like, shockingly, this looks actually good. This looks actually pretty decent.
And, I guess the big headline that people kept bringing up is that it was going to have rollback netcode.
Yep.
Outdoing Smash Bros. Itself in online architecture. So...
Zim's final smash is that he rips your eyes out.
That would be amazing. Final smash. Yeah, I don't know. It looks really fun. Like, again, it's hard to say because a lot of these things come out and they look good or at least interesting and tend to be not great. But the people who are making this seem very confident that they're doing it for the right reasons in that they
made another fighting game previously that a lot of people liked, so maybe it's got something going on there. I mean, it had a clutch button. They had like a thing called a clutch button where if you hit it, it modified all the actions that you did previously to be more interesting or more clutch.
That is interesting. So, yeah, they said that they felt like the genre still had room to grow, the Smash Fighter genre, whatever it's actually called.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, room to grow. I mean, it's been stagnant for like a decade. So.
Yeah. So they want to they claim to want to do something with that. Is Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl going to be the way to go? Who knows? Apparently Nickelodeon are giving them a lot of freedom with this one, and surprising amount of financial support to make something that would be generally good. And I guess they're trying to eye up the growing Evo fighting scene. Now corporate mandated, now Sony owned. It's a safer bet.
I think Nickelodeon having designs upon Evo might be reading a bit too far into it, but I think they
feel like I heard something like that.
I appreciate the hands-off approach that they're taking to this, which is they probably have a guy going, you can't have Zim rip a guy's eyes out, but aside from it, they've got like a style guide guy, but that's about it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Any news, Lawrence? What you got?
Let's see. Did you see the trailer for Gundam Evolution?
This is Gundam Overwatch?
Yes.
Yes, I did see some
I
of this.
will be real with you, Lee. Just simply, like, if you... not Overwatch, I sleep. Gundam Evolution. Gundam Overwatch, real shit. Like, the meme, like, eyes open, like, red, blaring.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I'm interested in this. But like for me, it's like the questions are like it's the smash question, which is the Zaku in it? Good. Is Char Aznabble's Red Comet Zaku in it? Good. Is Big Zam in it? Big Zam? No Big Zam, no buy. That's what I say.
Of course. They can't take that creative risk. They at least need to make like a stage themed around Big Sam if they're not going to make him playable.
Yeah, if you could have Big Zam and make it so that he's literally fucking unplayable because he's too big and he barely moves and he needs a whole load of support units around him in order to get anything to work. And then he gets blown up at the end of the match anyway because he's overpriced and terrible. But he's a great meme. Great meme, Big Zam.
Great, yeah, very good.
We all like Big Zam.
We all like Big Zam, exactly. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that's like, man, I should really get into Gundam. I should really, like, test the waters. I don't know anything about it.
I made a real serious effort to get into Gundam, and I got through the compilation films of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and they were... I liked it. It was very cozy in that sort of watching old episodes of Doctor Who kind of way. Like when you're watching like Tom Baker Doctor Who or like black and white Doctor Who, and you're like, oh, this is nice, this is cozy.
Oh, that's worrying.
Because it's and like it was made in like the 60s. Like this is the old fucking anime where like you can still see like it freeze frames of like the animator's hairs and like the cells, sort of thing. Yes, it is charmingly antiquated. And then I got about halfway through the sequel series, like Gundam Zeta, which is like supposedly like the next generation, the TNG, the Star Trek TNG, and it was better. But because I went from breakneck pace of compilation films to actual like TV show, it slowed the pace down. I was like, oh, this is good, but I'll get back to it, and I have yet to get back to it.
I guess compilation films I could do. The idea of cozy, I just can't really watch cozy Doctor Who viewing. I appreciate who it's for. I think that's a good idea, but you know, it's like the people who watch what is it called? Case Closed. You know the anime Case Closed?
Nope.
Let me get the character's name. Maybe that'll ring a bell. Case Closed. Because it's an anime it's been kind of going on forever.
Oh, Detective Conan.
Yeah, that's right. That's the guy's name.
Yes, I know of this. Yes, it is a little bit like that.
96 to today, still running, still new episodes coming out. And you're like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like Lupin the Third, like old episodes of Lupin the Third, that sort of thing. I guess it's that, but slightly more intense because it has serious things it would like to tell you about war and things like that, and there's moral ambiguity. It's not quite as lighthearted as Lupin the Third or Detective Conan.
I recently got into... this is maybe a tangent a little. because I don't know when I'll ever talk about this, but I've caught up on Attack on Titan, and it set me into being okay once more again with longer anime, like series that don't necessarily end immediately.
Oh, that's a weird thing to say, because Attack on Titan's like pretty clearly defined as having
I
beginning,
know.
middle, and end.
Yes, but
It's no One Piece.
Yeah, it's no One Piece, but it got me. Like it's shonen anime still goes somewhere, tends to have an ending in sight. It just takes a long ass time to get there. I guess what Attack on Titan reminded me was that I started over when I watched it. I had already watched the first season, and I went right back to watch the first season again to blast through it. And I blast through all, 4 seasons? 5 seasons?
4.5 at the minute.
4.5.
I think.
In about, 4 sittings. Under a week.
It's a fucking good show. It's
Yeah.
engaging as hell.
And I realized that I hadn't been doing that with anime for a while, and that's kind of the best way to view anime, in blocks.
Binge it.
Yeah, just to really burn it. And I used to do that with Naruto, and I had because Naruto had just taken such a dive in quality as it went on. I had presumed that experience was part of the problem. But since Attack on Titan, it reminded me that I love doing that. And yes, that's right, I'm watching Boruto. No, I'm kidding, I haven't done that yet. No. Although I have watched clips from Boruto. They showed up on my Instagram. And I'm starting to see why I might inevitably like it. It just looks like X-Men. They've basically done X-Men. It's just a bunch of rookies being trained by one sort of dude, and then the dude becomes unimportant somewhere down the line, I assume.
So what you're saying is it's like the first half of Naruto, the part that you liked.
Until it's not. So I'll probably watch it at some point. But no, it got me into My Hero Academia. That's the latest thing I've jumped on board with. Later hotness.
Oh yes, the was it the shonen du jour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Flavor of the week if I was feeling cynical.
Yeah. And it's very much in the I don't know, Marvel does Dragon Ball. It's not that
Green Naruto is the one that I've heard.
Green Naruto. That's good. The character from this Deku is a lot more like the guy from Demon Slayer, the other thing I watched recently. In that they're charming. They're not annoying like Naruto. But yeah, I'm like, there's 5 seasons of that out. I'm already halfway through the 3rd season. I started it like 4 days ago. And, as much as they're like teasing that the school year will end at some point, or, there are semesters to go through, it's 3.5 seasons in, and they've finished the 4th month of their tenure at this school in the first year.
Oh yeah, there's a time skip incoming, I'm sure.
There has to be something, but yeah, and I guess they do the Harry Potter thing where eventually they just fuck the school and leave it and move on. But it really does. While it does feel like the story is constantly progressing, it also feels like they could sweep the feet out from under us and change tact and be about something completely different somewhere down the line.
Death Eaters could attack, etc.
Etc. Yeah, exactly. Or there was a greater unspoken evil. The boss's boss was the real boss all along.
Well, that was one of the reasons that Naruto turned to shit, wasn't it?
Very much so. But how did I get onto this? Gundam.
Mobile Suit Gundam. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Compilation films. If you want to get,
I feel like because I've fallen back into burning through anime in that sense, and I'm enjoying that experience. A Gundam or two, maybe one of the slick, cool ones that end in like a season or two. Maybe one of those will be just solid. You zone out, season a day watch.
Watch one of the compilation films, and use that as the litmus for watch. There's like 3 of them. for the original Mobile Suit Gundam. So watch one of them, and if that tickles your fancy, you can watch the rest. All you need to know is who Char is, what a Zaku is, and Big Zam. That's all you need. That's really all you need.
All right, I don't know any of those except Big Zam, and I still don't really know about Big Zam. So yeah, very much looking forward to.
All you need to know about Big Zam is that you know those at the end of World War II, they had like these blueprints for like stupidly oversized like Nazi Wunderwaffen big tanks that never saw production because they were ridiculous and they would never work.
They goddamn done it.
That's Big Zam.
They made Big Zam. All right, news. Two small ones. id Software's Mario 3 port, as detailed for many of us in Masters of Doom.
Dangerous Dave and copyright infringement?
Well, the actual authentic port they presented to Nintendo with Mario in it, it has recently been salvaged and added to the Strong National Museum of Play in New York. So,
that is a good bit of news. That's interesting.
They found it. Whoever had a developer apparently had a copy, or had the copy, one or the other. And I don't think they donated it. I think they sold it. But I mean, yeah, it exists. It's out there, and it's publicly available for viewing, which is very interesting. I never really thought you would actually go to these museums and see something that you probably would never have seen, but there is now a case for that. Strong National Museum of Play. There you go. Other small story. Hideo Kojima, not super fussed on the name Director's Cut, as it turns out.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Apparently, that it wasn't his call, and he would have rather have it been called Director's
Extended
Plus.
Director's Plus, of course. Of course he wouldn't just call it the Extended Edition.
No.
He would call it...
The word Director still has to be there.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason seems, in his own company, unable to do anything about that.
Maybe that was a Sony decision.
Who knows?
Maybe that was Sony going, we have given you so much money, we're going to call it whatever the fuck we like, and we can do nothing about it.
We want to make twice our money back. Director's Cut. Finally, Hideo Kojima gets his take on Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding.
That game is like... I can only speak as someone who hasn't played it, but every looking at it, do you know what it looks like? It looks like, you know that episode of The Simpsons where it's the car made for Homer?
Yeah,
Where it's like, we need you to make a car for the average man, and Homer they give him infinite money, and Homer just makes a car that's of interest to him and him only. That's
Homer.
what Death Stranding feels like. It's the Homer. Sony has given Kojima like a blank check, and he just made a game that was of interest to him only, and it's like, oh, what's it about? Oh, it's about walking around delivering packages. Is there combat in this game?
Yes, but
There's a
no.
ladder.
There's a ladder. There's
Got a ladder.
Yeah, sure
That
does.
being said, I cannot wait to play it.
I know, I've had it installed for like half a year now. I'm like, I'm finding myself more and more these days. I'm like mood driven. I'm just embracing that. I'm embracing the fact that I like to play games based on mood. And there's going to be a day where I'm just going to be like, I just want to wander aimlessly somewhere, and that'll be the mood. That'll be Death Stranding's in. Until that day. Anything to add, Lawrence?
Sorry. I just remembered that a couple of key episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam take place in Belfast, would you believe?
Ooh, alright. It's like the Captain Planet problem all over again.
Yeah, but it's set in the far future, so there's no trouble stuff going on. But I will say that because the animation is so primitive, like you wouldn't even know it was Belfast. Like the buildings are just a series of grey cuboids, and they go, "We're in Belfast," and we're like, "Oh,
oh beautiful,
neat." You've really captured the spirit of the place, I have to say.
Why did they go to Belfast? Was there a reason?
Space
Belfast?
No, it was just regular Belfast. No, it was no, they're traveling from one part of the planet to another, and they're being pursued, and Belfast just happened to be the place that they were stopping in for this particular episode. That's just it, I think.
Wow.
But hey, the Japanese know that we exist. That's good.
That is good, I guess. Bring them to us.
Between that and that one Chucky Chan movie where he fights the IRA.
Yes. What is that called?
The dissident, something.
No,
the fugitive?
yeah, it's
No,
not the fugitive. The foreigner. The foreigner.
A foreigner. That's it. And
I have watched it. It was passable.
It was possible. I know that Pierce Brosnan plays not Jerry Adams.
Yes, he very much does. He does a really good job, in fact, of not playing not Jerry Adams.
Anyway, let's see. Oh, did you hear the shit about Judgement?
I did. It's on my list.
Judgement as a franchise may no longer continue because of what I can only describe as laughably out of touch talent agency restrictions.
Yep. It's really strange. It feels this must be more of maybe a bigger thing in Japan. We don't have a lot of big name Japanese actors in games with
other than
visage. Yeah, except the Yakuza series. So it's starting to open up that potentially there's a reason why this hasn't happened. And it's maybe because the agencies that hold these people are very old-fashioned.
Yeah, every once in a while something like this happens and you just get a glimpse into like the weird like backroom Japanese politics and you go, oh, this is kind of unsavory. I don't know what's going on here. Like, cause like, okay, so Japanese, I'm sure you know this already, but Japanese celebrity culture is fucking horrific. Like it's so detached from reality. Like, you know, you've probably heard about like idols and things like that.
Sure.
That's the most out there example, and it's the one most people are familiar with. But like, to give you an idea of how bizarre this is, the guy, the actor who was in Judgement, whose name escapes me, unfortunately.
His name is Tekuya Kimura.
Tekuya Kimura. He is very fortunate in that he is one of the actors sufficiently famous and with enough political pull that he can have a family and can publicly announce that he is married and has children, because most Japanese celebrities aren't allowed to publicly announce that they are married and have children because it affects their, you know, I guess marketability in the eyes of like sad people who form parasocial relationships with them and things like that. And the talent agency that he is tied to, which is called Johnny's, I think.
It's called Johnny's, that's right.
It's called Johnny's. They don't want Judgement to come to the PC, but it's allowed to come to Stadia and other consoles. And the reasoning for this seems to be...
Consoles.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy emphasis.
The reason for this seems to be, no, we don't want it on PC. We don't know computers, and we think that if it goes on PC, I guess pirates will get it.
They're afraid of people being able to manipulate and abuse Tekuya Kimura's image, yeah. And I mean,
because they have tight, almost Orwellian control over this guy's image. Like
clearly, they didn't see what happened to Elliot Page on the PlayStation.
No, that's the thing that's laughable about this. What you don't want, you think you'll lose control of his image, and like what people will make memes of him,
yeah,
or something like that. And it's like, well, first of all, it's too late for that. And second of all, you appreciate that like Stadia and consoles and things like that, like their computers an all but name. They're already computers. Like. They have like the Sony PlayStation 4 and I think the 5 as well has a share button dedicated for exactly this sort of thing. And the reason and the explanation they're given is crickets, tumbleweed blows by, and they go,
don't like it.
but
don't PC, like computers.
Though, it's different. It's for reasons that we cannot articulate. PC is different, and we don't want it on PC, and that's it. So no Judgement on PC, and this might be a deal breaker that prevents the series from continuing. This is the only example I can think of a company, like an actual professional company, like their reasoning for making a bad decision is go, no, we don't like it.
PC scary.
Just like we don't know what this is. We're not interested in finding out. We don't care how much money this could make for us. No explanation given. But we control the rights of this person's face, so it's in our hands, and we say no.
Also, a reason then why Judgement isn't coming to PC anytime soon, I guess, on the back of that. We want to piece dot together.
Do these people own computers? And if they do, how many toolbars are on their browser?
Mm-hmm.
Are they aware that you do not need to type www. into Google? That is not what Google does. Do they know what a URL is? That's what I want to know.
Well, I just make Google my homepage. That way I don't have to type it. www.google.com.
Do they have Google Chrome and type google.com into the search engine in order to bring them to the homepage of Google, where they then type in the thing that they wanted to type in? That's what I want to know.
Do they save web pages to their desktop?
Oh, that's a good one. Do they open up Microsoft Word by just clicking a file, deleting everything in it, and then saving as a new thing in order to get a new Microsoft Word page?
That one made me feel a little ill.
Do they take screenshots by hitting the print screen button, opening up Paint, pasting it in, and then copying out the part that they want to show, and then pasting it into a separate Paint file, and then saving that?
That's how their social media is done.
Uh-huh.
Do they have an incredibly big Windows Media Player music library that has X's around it because they moved the folder once?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Do they still have Apple QuickTime on their computer?
Oh, yeah. Do they have...
Silverlight? Never figured out what that one did.
No.
Never figured out one out.
Do they have the Real Player?
Ooh, yeah.
And on we can go.
Do they double-click unnecessarily on everything that they do? And single-click when they're supposed to double-click.
Yeah.
Double-click when they're asked to right-click.
Yeah, do they have that thing, that default option put in where one click is 2 clicks, and they don't know how to turn it off?
Oh, that's a new one.
Oh?
That's a fresh hell to me.
Oh, yeah, it's awful. Loads of people's computers, when I used to work with people who had computers more often, they would have, it was a default on a lot of machines, especially Macs.
Do they have a ridiculous amount of redundant files because they save as every time, and they never delete it because they never delete things because it frightens them?
A lot of files, but not a lot of folders.
Never categorized.
Never categorized, yep. Very open. Mm-hmm. Do they use the mail feature on the actual desktop?
Mm-hmm. Do they refer to any kind of browser as internet and not know what a browser is, or indeed what the internet is?
Well, that one just seems very true. Very evident in the story we've been 5 minutes ago talking about.
Etc., etc. Yeah, this story beggars belief, and it's an interesting insight into Japanese corporate dealings, especially in Sega. It's always Sega with these fucking stories that you hear about. It's always Sega or Sega adjacent.
Sega are just low enough down the chain where they don't get to call their own shots like Nintendo does. Like, if Nintendo don't want... If a deal with Nintendo goes sour and it's not on Nintendo's terms, then you never had a deal with Nintendo. Sega will get into a full-on agreement with you, and you will own a major share of the property they're both developing and producing somehow.
Also, Sega has, like, genuine Yakuza ties, which might have something to do with it, but yeah.
Also, yeah, the biggest problem with this story is that for Sega is that their business today is PC. Like, that's where their money is. They realize this. That's why they keep making good strategy games and Football Manager every year. It's because the PC market is rapidly growing or has outpaced all other markets for Sega.
I guess we'll just have to check in the story in 5 years' time and see if
Judgement came out. The third.
Yeah, whether or not this company and its weird dinosaur executives have been crushed to death beneath the wheel of progress or not. We will have to see.
Yeah, that's fair. Or whether this guy, Tekuya Kimura, gets the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting, because apparently he loved playing the role of whatever you call him.
I feel bad for him. He's a victim here. That's what I think.
He's on record saying he really enjoyed his time with the character, so that kind of sucks. That's not an option for him anymore. I guess this is a story. Psychonauts 2 will have an infinite lives mode, which reminded me how grateful I am to be off Twitter these days.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Mm-hmm. The key to using Twitter is to subscribe to only 10 people, and that's it. It's like, oh, hey.
You get Tim Rogers, you get Vectormen podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't think you need that much more.
I know. Maybe a couple of non-toxic influencers that you like, and that's about it.
Maybe you could do like the poorly aged. I forgot you're still on there. Yeah, Lawrence. Poorly aged things.
That's a good one. Saved You a Click. That's a classic. Are they still around? I haven't heard a lot from them recently.
Is that Kingdom Hearts account we promoted once still there? Out of context, Kingdom Hearts.
And Boyega Cats.
Oh yeah,
Bodega Cats. Boyega is a Star Wars man. Bodega is
Boyega is a Star Wars man. That is a great sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Bodega Cats. That's a great Twitter. I love that. That's one of the few things I miss, but I'm sure it's on Reddit. So if I got into Reddit,
next story. What time? Dare I even glance at the running time?
We're getting up to the 3-hour podcast mark.
Oh boy!
Of course we are. Got to stop doing 2 games in a week. Ubisoft. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Seems to be tearing itself apart. Shock of all shocks. Alright, so just rapid fire between a few articles on Kotaku and Bloomberg. There was something released called the Universal Registration Document. Did you hear about this?
No, but it sounds ominous.
It is. It's basically an assessment of the company as a whole to shareholders and the like. And of interest to nosy people, there's a section titled Risk Factors.
Mm-hmm.
In which grades to various problems facing Ubisoft these days are given and expounded upon.
I think I did hear about this. Is this where they say that they suffer from a serious brain drain problem and they're having trouble acquiring talent because of like harassment and abuse from like management was such an ordeal that it like tainted the reputation of the company?
That's ranked on the list as high. It's a high risk.
Mm-hmm.
And rightly so. I guess it kind of... I don't really know what to add to this. It was interesting to see that they're aware of it, at least. But what kind of added to this whole thing is that Bloomberg also reviewed comments made by employees sort of in and around the publishing of this, that now that it's kind of back in the light, that there are still some of the top brass, shock of all shocks, accused of harassment, still in charge. They reported that the French union Solidaires Informatique... let me try it again. Solidaires Informatique. Yeah, sure. Note that at least three Ubisoft managers who were accused of having been virtually... have being accused of harassment or something of that like, are virtually untouched in their roles. And this is something that's becoming, as the story to impart upon our listeners, because this all sounds like continuing old news, something that's become slight more of a headache and a development here, despite the fact that Ubisoft can't hire people, is that employees there are making comments and speaking out more about this, and it's becoming a little bit more of a headache because of the recently announced Assassin's Creed Infinity, or rumored, I guess, but sort of it is announced. It is officially announced as a project being undertaken by Ubisoft at the very least. Jesus, where they're finally coming for Lawrence.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking to myself, like, I heard the announcement and I couldn't even summon the energy required to pretend to be surprised by this news.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even include it on its own as a story. I wasn't going to talk about it, except that it came up as a footnote in this other story. It's just such a miserable turn of events. Anyway.
I don't think I have ever seen a franchise so completely unable or unwilling to play to its own strengths as Assassin's Creed. It's incredible.
Didn't they also have a tremendous success lately with that Viking one.
I'm not sure if tremendous success.
It was
would
like
be
their
the word I would use.
the best launch of an Assassin's Creed game they ever had. Strong sales. Not enough. What we need is
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Destiny.
Every time I play one, and I'm probably going to play the DLC for Unity at some point. Once I have the space to set up my consoles and play console games again, I'm reminded of Yahtzee's comments on Assassin's Creed, which is he basically treats it as like a big graph.
Yeah.
It's like from 1 to 10. All right, this one was slightly better, so I'm going to put that up 2 more points on the graph. Oh, but this one was a giant. So it's just like a spreadsheet at this point. This one was okay, but this one wasn't. But this one was okay. This one was slightly better, and this one was good, but this one was terrible. And it's just like, oh, jeez, it's become so ugly.
Yeah.
I suppose we should clarify: Assassin's Creed Infinity is a live service platform. It's going to be an evolving game constantly with multiple settings. I don't know what that means. I mean,
it means it's an MMO.
Probably not an MMO. I think it's going to be trying to be like a Destiny.
Well, yeah,
maybe.
But that's what I mean. It's just a live service MMO. That's all it is. They have worlds. They add more sometimes. They close off others. It's the same format, different titles.
Like the games designer in me, or the optimist, if you like, thought to himself, well, maybe you could use this as an opportunity to explore settings that on their own would not have been substantial enough for an entire game to themselves. But I know that that's far too sensible and perhaps, dare I say, risky of a solution for them to go for. So they're probably going to do something like that I utterly hate, and that they're going to take a lot of really superficially interesting settings that are really fertile for like good stuff, and then just like blow their way through them, basically ruining them for future installments. So it's like, there you go. Oh, Aztec, boom, there you go. Here's a DLC expansion that goes through like a really quick Aztec thing. That would have been a nice game, an Assassin's Creed Aztecs. Well, there you go. It's trapped behind our live service.
I guess what they're probably planning to do, which might counter the idea of burning through a bunch of settings quickly, is that each year their usual Assassin's Creed entry, their annual Assassin's Creed game, is instead just essentially in this one sprawling engine where they can charge you for better gear, and they can put in like daily strike missions and stuff so that you tune in, get your daily bonus, and grind for loot, which puts a lot of clarity on recent decisions made by these games. Like I complained a lot about Assassin's Creed Odyssey having this really gated, closed off leveling system that prevents you from just sprawling and enjoying the world. Shoehorns you into this path.
I guess, I've seen gameplay footage, and I am tentatively looking forward to it because it looks like they've improved a lot of things. But one of my big eyebrow-raising moments, which is if I jump off a building and impale a guy in the neck with my hidden blade, and they just fight me like normal after that's a problem. That's no good.
Yeah,
that basically defeats the purpose.
That's the problem. It's no longer a fantasy. It's essentially they were building this game all along, where now you get a stealth drop on people. You're getting a stealth bonus attack, which doesn't kill them. It took all the visceral satisfaction out of the series. And
I've heard speculation that this is a way for them to structure the workflow for Assassin's Creed in such a way that can handle the constant brain drain and lack of institutional knowledge that they have.
That's some speculation.
Pure conjecture, but it seems to make sense, where it's like okay, so we have a high turnover rate where not a lot of people are signing up and we're losing a lot of people. So what do? Okay, so we can make this platform so we can squeeze the best that we can out of the people that we have, so that new people can come in and just work on like the more modular system where you can just contribute to what's already there and then go. So it's more fluid, I guess, or more flexible, as opposed to just getting a whole bunch of people together, like new inexperienced people, and making an entire game with that, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Well, there is some relative potential evidence to that if it ever comes to light. And it ties back to the actual story. That the headache coming from Assassin's Creed Unity on behalf of the employees comes from the fact that Ubisoft have merged their Montreal and Quebec studios, the two of the big names in their Assassin's Creed development, and essentially comments about it from the employees is that despite the reshuffling of all the people, they've pushed the allegedly abusive senior roles. They've kind of kept them steady above more people and haven't addressed that at all. So now,
I mean, Yves is still there. And, and
gotta get the head of the snake.
Making sure that all his buddies are just pretty comfortable when they do get the heave-ho.
Mm-hmm. But what about the shareholders? Maybe
what
there's
about
some
the
sort
shareholders?
Well, maybe there's some video I can make.
Please think of the shareholders.
Anyway, so as usual, Ubisoft is a fucking mess. And with the added side note of Assassin's Creed Infinity, I almost said Unity, sounds like an exhausting culmination in all my fears that the series would embody. And a true end to what would entice me to this series in the first place. But, here's my optimistic take. It's probably never going to happen because it would be competing with its own property. But now that they got all these, connected games as live service stuff out of their system, with all its live service mechanics they've been trial and erroring for the last couple of years through the mainline games, maybe they could just say that's all in Infinity and then make a standalone game that actually feels fun to play sometime.
No, they won't.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But
I bet they're going to do the Destiny and say, this is a 10-year game and we have a 10-year plan, but they don't.
Of course they don't.
It's been a while since we ended an episode on a huge bummer. Do you have any other news stories?
That is the last of my news stories.
Hooray! We're continuing the Vectormen tradition of just ending on a huge low note.
Do you not have any left?
Yeah, I don't have any news left. That's
no! Man, I was really hoping you had something to salvage. You usually have something in the back pocket.
No, just edit in me blowing one of those party blowers, like, whee! There you go. It's the end of the episode.
Alright, well, thanks for tuning in on Twitch, guys. He said apparently there's people there, who knows. Catch you another time, and check out lesserland.com for the upload of this episode.
Selena Gomez. My favorite thing about that is that it doesn't look anything like her.
I know. I'm glad that came across.